in Jordan Henderson, who's a perfect sort of lighthouse player in this kind of scenario. I think people are sleeping on how good Kevin Schade is. He had a really good season last season, but obviously Mbeumo and Wissa got the credit there, understandably, because of what they achieved. There's more to come from Fabio Carvalho. Igor Thiago is a bit of an unknown quantity, barely played last season because of injury, but he came in to replace Ivan Toney. And they're very good at their due diligence with that sort of thing, Brentford. So I think there's a good chance that he'll contribute. They've got a strong defence. They've got some very, very sort of tough midfielders in there, and I just think, even actually if they do lose Wissa, I think they'll be all right. I really do. Keith Andrews is obviously the key there, and he's a little bit of an unknown quantity, but again, it's consistent. He's been in the setup for a long time.
He's been in the setup a reasonable amount of time. May I sort of amend your statement with your blessing?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
And you know, to maybe throw some fuel or some fire onto, what would it be, Jim? Fuel on the fire or fire on the fuel? It's hard to throw fire.
I mean, either's going to combust, isn't it? I suppose if you're throwing fuel on the fire, you're making the fire worse. If you're throwing fire on the fuel, bang! Yeah, that's more fun.
Yeah, okay. Don't try it at home or anywhere, quite frankly. Everybody listening to this. Keith Andrews, it's his first job as a number one. But may I remind you, what had Pep Guardiola done before he managed Barcelona?
What a comparison. Everyone's got to
start somewhere.
What a comparison. What are you worried about, Brentford fans?
Yeah, we obviously don't know what Keith Andrews is going to do, but I think that is the area, isn't it? That with Mbeumo going and Norgard and one or two others, I totally take the point, Jim, that they've survived this before with Ivan Toney. I think this is more of a profound change, so I don't think they would have as good a season as they did. You've already mentioned that. It's all about the manager, because Frank's such a great Premier League operator with Brentford. The club was I'm not moulded around him, because it was of course bigger than that, but this is the test of it. We're going to find out how much it was moulded around Frank, or actually how much Frank was moulded around Brentford. Again, I'm mixing up things, but you get the picture. So that is the question. I like it.
As long as no one's on fire.
Yes, exactly, yeah. No throwing fire or fuel, please. I like that. Vish, what about yourself? Is there a team that you think are going to surprise people this season in the Premier League? And it could be for better or for worse.
I do have a for worse answer, and that is Bournemouth, because of the players that they've lost and the players that they could still yet lose by the time the window's done.
But still got the
Basically
manager.
Their entire back line. Yeah, they do still have the manager, but they're losing quite a good and young back line and be very hard to replace, especially if you're going to replace them with players of a similar age profile. Yeah, it'll be very tricky. But my better answer, which is actually for worse for all of us, and isn't particularly really insightful answer, but Chelsea.
That's what I was going to say.
I think the Chelsea we're going to see this season will have the bit between their teeth a bit more than they did last year, because I think last year was basically Enzo Maresca feeling out his squad and trying to find out what worked. Bear in mind, it went, even if you look at this time last year, he basically came out with a quote saying how integral Raheem Sterling was going to be to their plans, and then a week later he's turfed out on loan to Arsenal. I think the way that they've recruited has been very similar to how they've done it previously, but some of the outgoings have been quite surprising. Even there's talk on Monday morning of Nicholas Jackson being moved on to Newcastle, Christopher Nkunku going to RB Leipzig. All this stuff is happening because the squad. I feel like the squad size is basically going to be the same, but Maresca is fine-tuning the kind of people he wants in his squad. And if you look at someone like João Pedro, who they brought in, very much someone you can set your watch by in terms of his Premier League experience. Liam Delap's offering a bit more of that youthful exuberance. Jamie Gittins as well. I don't really know what he's going to bring, but he's there and it's quite exciting. Yeah. But there's obviously a type of forward that he wants, and he's pretty set on his back line. And so I think they'll be a bit more ruthless. They weren't necessarily chaotic last year, but because it was such a rolling cast from weekend to midweek, you didn't really get the sense that there was any genuine, I suppose, progression for team understanding. Because even in March there were Chelsea fans saying, look, this guy's awful, we need rid of him.
Oh, way before March they were saying that.
No, but generally, like, they were in a position to push for, and at times were accommodating Champions League spots, and there were people like, look, this is really dull. We don't want this guy at our club anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think there's a bit more to it. There's a bit more to him, and there's a bit more to Chelsea. Full stop.
I would agree. I was going to say Chelsea. For reasons you've said, I think they have a very good squad, and it's more in depth than I certainly thought. I know they had the Club World Cup, and people will say, well, that could be an absolutely exhausting thing. Yes, and I understand that this is maybe a silly point to make, but if you win the thing and you end it with such a good feeling, of course, if you have tired legs, you have tired legs. But the mood and the feeling and the the exuberance or whatever you want to say that you get from winning it, and the good feeling around the place is priceless. And I think what you were saying about the fans there, that a lot of them were on Maresca's back, as you say, and they were a little bit unconvincing at times. That now, I think the Europa Conference League win, we all knew from as soon as they were in that competition, anyone with two brain cells to rub together were like, yeah, Chelsea will win that, and of course they did. The Club World Cup, whatever one may think of that tournament, it is a statement from Maresca and co. The fact is they beat PSG, who were up for it, and the way they beat them in the final. Yes, it's only one game, but my goodness, it's against a team who a lot of people think, myself included, were thinking, bloody hell, PSG for the next few years could start to emulate some of the really best teams we've seen in the last 10, 15 years in European football. Chelsea hammered them. So in one-off games, obviously they're good. They proved that by winning 2 cup competitions. But I think it's all about the league. What are they going to do? I think they will be challenging for the title. I don't necessarily think they'll win it, but I think they'll be involved. And I think that, if you remember last season, there was very tentative talk around, what was it, November maybe? Something like that, as we were going into the winter months of, Chelsea, could they? There was all that kind of thing. And then as the months went by and that Christmas period, it became apparent that they weren't going to challenge. But that was partially to do with Liverpool's brilliance, of course. So I think that I think as well, there's potentially a little bit more maturity in the squad, just with certain individuals, which is something that they really lacked, as we know it's a very, very young squad. And some of the sort of insider information and whatnot was saying that you are lacking that older leader. Certainly when the likes of, say, Cesar Azpilicueta, when he left the club, and maybe one or two others, they were just kids. And it was, I think, Enzo Fernandez is what the club captain is. So, I think a little bit more maturing, a little bit more realisation that, no, if you're in your late 20s or even mid-20s, you are one of the elder statesmen in this side. So a little bit of that. Maresca with a season under his belt as well. Blah, 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 blah. I think Chelsea are definitely a team that could surprise. I think people will. I think when I say surprise, I have to put that suggestion down that they're challenging for the title, because if they finished 4th or 5th next season, I don't think that would surprise too many people.
Yeah.
So I think that's so that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they'll be in a similar boat to, say, Newcastle and Aston Villa and whoever else that are going to be challenging for the top 4 or 5. I think they're going to be pushing themselves in that bracket with Liverpool and, dare I suggest, Arsenal as well.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think what they've done very well, and what they've actually done fairly consistently over the last few seasons, is they're very good at leveling up their squad in a quite video gamey way.
Yeah,
where there's suddenly a big sort of kind of big raising of the ceiling, and obviously their transfer policy is very, very unique, and we've spoken about it a lot, but it's starting to make a bit of sense now. Because obviously they've aside from them selling their own women's team and things like that, where there's a little bit of kind of chicanery going on, all within the rules, obviously, they also make an enormous amount of money out of sales. I think they sold 4 players last week and made 100 million quid out of it. They're very, very good at that. So what that means is there are players that they're not really using that much, that are quite handy in a Conference League squad, which is now irrelevant. And the players coming in to replace those players are very likely to be Garnacho and Xavi Simons. So, like, you know, very, very good players that level up that squad. And I think they're going to probably have a title tilt. And you know what? I think they'll do well in the Champions League as well. I think they could go quite deep in it.
I love the fact that they're going after Garnacho. It's like, we love wingers at this club. Just more wingers, please. More wingers.
So many.
Wingers and goalkeepers. Get them all in. Okay. Well, they are big con. So we're thinking Chelsea. Perhaps another team that could surprise some people.
Irish Kev has been in touch on Discord, and Kev asks, do you think there will ever be a point where the Saudi League is respected? If they stay picking up the players they currently are for the next 10 years, for argument's sake, do they become legit? Or will they always just be the weird stain on your sheet that we don't talk about? That should be stain on one sheet. So leave my sheets out of this, Irish Kev. And there's a related question to this from Scott on X. And Scott says, with many flops such as Darwin Núñez being snapped up by Saudi Arabian teams, is there a way back to the big leagues from the Saudi Pro League if a player does well, or is it a sign that a player is finished at the highest level? So two questions there really, but they are related.
I might start with the second question first, because it's easier to answer. Because we have seen players leave the Saudi Pro League and basically make their way back into football. I appreciate Jordan Henderson, as the most high profile from these shores, has ended up taking the scenic route back to the Premier League, but he is back in the Premier League as an older midfielder. There are various many other players who've just gone back to continental Europe because they haven't fancied it, or they've made, quite simply, they've made enough money that they're happy with and are now heading back. And conversely, I suppose through answering that, it's easy to answer the first one about whether it'll be taken seriously. And I think fundamentally, yes, in time. I don't necessarily think it'll be in the next 20 years, though. I think just generally with what you're seeing in world football and the way that a country like Saudi Arabia is going about, well, I suppose quite literally their business with the Public Investment Fund, with regards to going into various industries and essentially trying to buy up real estate in these particular industries. They're doing it really well in football. Like, I know we're talking specifically about the Pro League here, but if you look at Saudi Arabia's imprint on global football, I mean, they're nailing it. They've got a World Cup. They have people eating out of the palm of their hands with, whether it's, Newcastle, one of, whatever you might think of them as a neutral. They've got an entire city there who they've changed the fortunes of. They've brought success to that club, and they've done it in a way that still makes it feel wholesome if you are a Newcastle fan. And that's even as a Newcastle fan who might be querying where that money has come from and this, that, and the other. I think there's, you get those days out like a League Cup final, and can be quite hard to recall where that money has come from and the means it's with which, your club has been taken over by a particular nation state. It is harder, though, to get that actual real football authenticity with your league in particular, even with the grip that they have on certain broadcasters, with, that Saudi Arabia have on certain broadcasters, and with the way that they're able to pull in some of the biggest names in contemporary football, at least. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I won't be surprised if the way football is trending and the way that everything is so transactional, that it does come in the future. I'll go further than that. I don't see it happening in my lifetime, but football will go on long after I'm dead. So,
yeah, I would say that I wouldn't see it becoming well respected in Europe. To answer that part of the Irish Kev, I think they have more of a chance than...
Well, it's respected full stop, isn't it? Not respected in Europe.
If you were to compare it to, say, the Chinese league, which is the only one I can think of which has really kind of quite overtly splashed an enormous amount of cash to try and get their league profile, like just zoom it up the charts, as if you like. The Chinese league sort of backed off after doing that a little bit, because the wages there, it was similar to the Saudi Pro League. There are comparisons there, but I think with China, very different country to Saudi Arabia. I personally thought they were going to host a World Cup soon enough. Perhaps the thought of lots of journalists from other countries poking around and seeing what was going on there didn't appeal to them. So for whatever reason, China has backed off on the football front. Saudi Arabia, as Vish has said, not just in the football front, in the sporting world, is in fifth gear, buying up stuff and whatnot. Whatever one may think of that, and I'm sure we all have, or a lot of people have very strong opinions on that. So then they're not here to kind of just have a little look and see how it goes. They're going to be here for a while, I think, doing this. However, football fans, money talks, yes it does, but actually your national team and the players you produce and the quality on the pitch talks louder. If Saudi Arabia, if they suddenly start producing players, if they put money into academies there, which perhaps they are, and suddenly you've got the kind of talent conveyor belt that Man City do, and Premier League players are going, have you seen this new young Saudi lad? And he's the Saudi Messi and all this kind of chat. That's when it'll start to be respected. That takes a lot longer, of course. I think the United Arab Emirates had a little go at this, and maybe they still are. But Saudi, as I say, is on a different level to them and other countries mentioned. But I think that is when it would start to become respected. But that's a very long-term thing. So right now, I think if you're throwing wages at players, it's also an admission of this league's a bit crap, so we're going to have to chuck tons of money at you. And that's where they are. So until they start producing players, but time will tell, but I don't think it will be respected, because if there are any decent players there, then they'll be whisked away to Europe. MLS is I would say, is probably beginning to get respected by a number of people in Europe, but there will still be some people who go, well, if you haven't really made it in Europe, maybe that's an option, or it could be for pre-retirement. So I don't think it's going to get the kind of respect that other European leagues get, and not all leagues in Europe are respected, by the way. There's a huge amount of leagues, of course. So that was what I would say there. With regards to Scott asking about flops coming back, I don't think that if a player goes to Saudi Arabia for a season or two or even 3 seasons, suddenly becomes rubbish. They might not have that competitiveness that you would get in, say, Serie A or the Premier League or something. And yes, they might be a touch rusty, if you see what I mean. I think it's an individual case by case there. Depends on the player, depends on the character, depends on how good they are, what stage of their career, the hunger, the desire, all the rest of it. If you're a good player and you're suddenly available, you'll always have suitors, even if your best moments were 2 or 3 years ago. So I think that Darwin Núñez, we could see him back in one of Europe's top leagues in a couple of years. I think that's within reason. Probably not the Premier League, I think. But who knows? Okay, definitely not Liverpool. He's never going to go back to Liverpool. I'll be clear about that. But who knows? Maybe a newly promoted Premier League side in 2 or 3 years' time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, presumably Darwin Núñez will at some stage play for Napoli or Atletico Madrid or both.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is perfectly suited for both of those teams.
Absolutely.
And I hope we see that, obviously. I think actually it's probably more likely than not that eventually it will become respected as a league. As Vish says, it might take a while. It could be a decade or decades. But essentially, the Saudi strategy is fairly simple, isn't it? It's make the product very good by filling it with very good players and get eyeballs on it. And as Vish alluded to DAZN, they already have a media organisation that is set up to provide that sort of thing globally, and I'm sure that will be part of the long-term strategy. And a lot of the Premier League's fan base doesn't have any particular loyalty to England or the Premier League itself. It's just where a lot of big players are and where a lot of exciting competitive seasons take place. So it's very possible, I think, that Saudi will be able to...
You're suggesting that fans around the world at some point, whether it's in 50 years or, I don't want to put a time on it, could be watching Saudi Pro League more than the Premier League?
Well, what I base that on, Marcus, is that this is obviously what their strategy is, right? It's the idea is of being a disruptor. The idea is of getting the best players in the world over, and obviously from that you fashion the best league. They already have DAZN as a platform for that, and they are, they've made it very clear they're here to stay on that front. As you've alluded to, it was very, very different with China, and part of the strategy is obviously is with the whole kind of kind of focus on entertainment that we're getting across all of sport and lots of different entertainment from Saudi is to move away from fossil fuels and bring in money from elsewhere. So that, I think long term, they're absolutely looking at knocking the Premier League off of its perch, so to speak. That'll be the one that they're aiming at. And it's not to say that they will achieve it, but they are going to throw absolutely everything at it. And I think as time goes by, loyalties change or they become indifferent. I think a vast element of the Premier League's global fan base, obviously, as I said, doesn't have a particular loyalty to England. So if there's better football somewhere else, they'll watch that. I think it's very, very possible that they achieve it. I think it'd be a shame, obviously, but that is what they are trying to do. But I think one fly in that ointment is that the best of the best in world football is in the Champions League. And I don't think the Asian Champions League is likely to ever be able to compete with that. So that will be something that they'll have to kind of navigate. But I think we all know they're here to stay now and they're going to do everything they can to achieve what they want.
Yeah, I mean, when you say they're trying to knock the Premier League...
Why have you finished with that point? Because now I can see it. They're going to join the Champions League, aren't they? They're going to join the UEFA Champions League.
But your point about they're trying to knock the Premier League off its perch, I wouldn't go with that because they've invested a lot in the Premier League in Newcastle. And
yeah, but they want to have their cake and eat it, don't they?
Well, indeed they do. I just think that the idea of another, a very wealthy group who have got their broadcast and all the rest of it, and when you say that people don't have a loyalty to the Premier League, I would, on their behalf, and I would be very comfortable saying this on other people's behalf around the world, would massively push back on that and say fans of clubs around the world are very much entrenched in their supporterships of Premier League clubs.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that they're not there to be sort of
I think it would take,
wooed over to something else.
I think it would take generations, and as Vish may have said, without misquoting him, it could happen after our lifetime, but I couldn't see in our lifetime the Saudi League becoming as respected as any of the top European leagues.
I mean, that's a slightly different conversation, isn't it? Because, whether it's about being respected or about it being popular, I suppose, is the case. But I do think it's inevitable that people will view it very differently from how they view it now.
All right, then. Well, time will tell, annoyingly.
And we'll be dead.
Yeah, oi, Jim.
Mercifully, we'll all be dead.
At the time of recording, it's not that respected. Just in case that changes by this afternoon.
You never know, do you? You never know.
My question comes from Supernova Dragon on X. Which battle do you think will be the most interesting this season? Now, he's given a list of battles: the battle for the league, the battle for fourth, which is essentially the Champions League spots, and the battle for the European places beyond the Champions League spots, or the battle for survival.
Ooh, damn it all, I'm going to say the title.
I like that. I think so too. Go on.
Yeah, the battle for survival, people are predicting that to be quite boring and desperately trying to think of a side that was in the Premier League last season and will be in this season. To think, who could they join in the battle? I don't want to get into all that because it's a bit... The battle for fourth or European places is always keenly contested, and particularly last season, that was the only thing we had to hang our hats on. But I do think that having just witnessed a couple of days ago the Community Shield, so clinging to that, and also I do think Chelsea are improved, and I think Arsenal are improved. I think Arsenal will have a proper go at the title, much more than they did last season. I think Liverpool, the genius of Arne Slot last season was getting into Klopp's slipstream. That was obvious. Mo Salah had yet again another outstanding year, but they have different combinations to kind of figure out. I think they're going to be brilliant no matter what. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, are they going to struggle? I don't think they're going to struggle per se, but I'd just be surprised if they ran away with it like they did last season. Some people will say, what are you talking about, you idiot? That they've improved. Yes, of course they have. There is the sadness, of course, the extreme sadness of Diogo Jota not being there. But I think the bigger reasons are as well about how Slot now really goes about his business and how he tries to put his imprint on this team. And he will, and I think they'll be a very, very effective side, and they will be in contention for every single trophy they're going for. But as I've mentioned, I think Arsenal and Chelsea will be up there as well. So I'm sort of trying to will this into existence as well. So I'm going to say the battle for the league title.
Have you left out Man City on purpose there?
Oh yeah, I think I have, Jim. And do you know why? It's because I wrote them off last season when really, looking back on it, they had like a 2.5 month period where they were a bit dodgy. But either side of that, they were fairly consistent. And I was like, it's over. The empire's done. It's in ruins. And I really went big on it. And then you kind of, I started to see their business. And then I was like, oh, blimey. I tell you what, though, that Al Hilal loss in the Club World Cup final, that was very welcome. And I thought that's kept the old fire burning. So we'll see what happens this season. Could have egg on my face. I probably shouldn't have reminded everybody what I said last season, but I did go big on it. So, as a very, very wise man once said, don't back down, double down. And that's what I'm doing, Jim.
Yeah, I think you're both right. I think it is the title race that's got the potential to be the most exciting, just because obviously the stakes are higher. But I do think, I desperately hope as well that the points totals are closer together than they were last season, however it pans out, just because it's more interesting, isn't it? There was a sense from about January, it's like, yeah, Liverpool are just going to romp this, aren't they? And then they did. But hopefully those gaps have closed, and as you say, who knows, maybe it will take Liverpool a little bit of time to adjust to the kind of slightly different style and the change of personnel. Who knows? But I do think as well, though, that if we do get an actual entertaining relegation battle, or one that threatens to have a little bit of variation in it, because it's been a while since we've actually had that will be a really welcome return.
Says the Arsenal fan at the top of the table.
Well, indeed. But it's...
Who would you like to see in there? Man United?
Fulham.
Yeah,
actually, yeah, Fulham and Man United is who I'd like to see. No, I mean, so let's... It probably only really takes one of the promoted teams to do surprisingly well, right? And then that makes it a little bit more chaotic. Who knows? Maybe Bournemouth will replace 4 of the 5 defenders they had last season with 4 absolute disasters. Maybe they'll get it so wrong that the front of the team's brilliant, the back end of the team is terrible. A friend of mine is a West Ham fan. I saw him the other day, asked him how he feels about the next season, and he just refused to talk to me about it. So I think that sort of tells its own story. I think there's a lot of kind of pessimism within the fan base, and they're worried that things could take a little bit of a slide there. I think they'll be fine, personally. Wolves have lost players and not replaced them. I think the manager's kind of canny and wily enough that they'll probably be fine, but he's also got quite a chaotic history, so you never know. There might be a team who gets sucked in there and make it entertaining and make it so that it isn't obviously the 3 promoted teams that come up. So from a neutral perspective, and maybe an evil neutral perspective, as you've touched on, Marcus, I think it's very possible that could be fun, just if we have one again at all, because it'll feel a bit like a novelty.
All right, coming up after this, which other footballers get the Rob Lee treatment?
Yes, as Marcus hinted at before the break, last week Luke said that Rob Lee was one of the few footballers who always gets called by their full name. Our friends on Discord have come up with a few more examples. El Chinito and the notorious BMT suggested Ben Mee. Absolutely, definitely agree with that. Moon suggested Joe Cole and JJ Okocha. And From Our Ball suggested Solly March, which I know you're a fan of that one, Vish.
Yeah, the Solly March one is pretty common. Okocha was, I feel like he was often given the Okocha moniker on comms, so I don't get that. Ben Mee is spot on because it just sounds weird, isn't it? Passes to me. What, you? Like, it's just, you know, it just sounds weird to say it as a commentator, or even just say it in normal conversation. I was trying to think of... I kept going to brothers. Philip Neville?
Any Cole.
Yeah.
Phil Neville. Gary.
Any Cole.
Yeah, but I think with Gary Neville, I think you could just say Neville. At the time, I feel it's those with one syllable first and second names, as in one syllable each name, or those who have very common names. So Andy Cole, Joe Cole, Ashley Cole. You couldn't just say Cole. And Keane as well. Roy Keane, Robbie Keane, never just Keane. Right, I feel it is there's a little bit of that going on. Pele, Paul Pele, no, just Pele. It was called by his first full name, Pelé. So I think that there are some ones that we do. I mean, I feel like Hannah Hampton became one in the Euros.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. It's pleasing to say, isn't it?
If the iteration is good, as it
That's
is
the
as well, it's
important
another
thing.
one.
Yeah. Also worth noting that Hannah is an anagram of
It is, Jim.
which sort of explains some of her quite demonic behaviour in the
Demonic?
shootout.
I've
Yeah, chucking that bottle away. Maybe demonic's harsh.
As a Christian, I'm
but,
pushing back on that.
And you're right to Marcus. Yeah.
Chucking the I forget the Spanish keeper's name. Bottle away was lovely work. I thought that Alisson might do that.
Fantastic.
Because Dean Henderson obviously had them written down, but.
But Dean Henderson had his Dean Henderson had his like swaddled in his towel, didn't he? Because he kept opening it up like he was checking if his baby was still asleep.
Alisson is a strong Christian, so he wouldn't get involved in demonic behaviour. Who did you?
That's a good point.
Perhaps the word I was looking for is devious. With apologies to Nuhaha Hampton.
Very good.
Oh, there's a lot of deviousness in the Bible. Yeah, famous.
Well, yeah, there
you
really
go.
is. There really is. But it doesn't end on that note, most importantly. Now, Vish, you have the final question.
I do, and I feel like I've set myself up to be nominated in this, but it comes from Barney on Insta. Who is the biggest prat of the 2020s in football?
I mean, there is only one answer here. There are notable mentions, but if anybody suggests anyone other than Gianni Infantino, they are wrong. they are incorrect.
You're so right.
It is the answer.
Yeah.
Like seldom on the mailbag do you get an answer where all you hear is when somebody says it, you hear bing 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 bing. You know, that is.
Yeah.
If this was Family Fortune and you go up first, and I'm in the room that's all the noises cancelled out, and so you say that answer, which is the top score, Gianni Infantino.
Yeah.
I go out for my go. I would also say Gianni Infantino, and that gets struck off. And my next one would be Amanda Staveley.
Ooh.
That's a nice one. Yeah, I think
that is a nice one.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Worthy. Very worthy of a mention there.
Yeah, because Infantino's behaviour is obviously sort of this despotic and terrible, and is kind of really compromising the very soul of the sport that he's supposed to be a custodian of. But it is also, it's just really embarrassing, isn't it? The way he goes about it.
Jim, the
It's
trainers in the suit
practical.
at the Club World Cup.
Yeah, you hate the trainers.
Which is point in case.
A lot of people wear trainers with a suit, and it looks absolutely fine, but you're right. Something about the way he does it, just what are you doing?
Yeah. It's just so piss poor. But I mean, that's the thin end of the wedge. Some of the stuff he came out during the Qatar World Cup. Anyway,
Giving the trophy to his maiden competition that he's pushed hard for. No one wants to do it. And the moment Donald Trump goes, "Can I have that?" He just goes, "Yeah, actually you can." It's just weak as well.
Oh dear. What about Neil Maupay?
Yeah.
Just desperately trying to be like, "Oh, I'm Mr. Shithouse." Yeah, get a load, and that's why it's prattling. A shithouse just gets on
because it's
with
not
it.
always been the case, is it?
Yeah.
It's a fairly new thing. It's like, you know what, I can make myself a bit interesting here. Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to rebrand myself as a prat.
Yeah.
Some of us have earned that. Some of us have been doing that our whole lives, Neil.
Exactly.
Could I nominate someone who it isn't necessarily a derogatory prat, but Emi Martinez? Would you describe that as pratty?
I think the
We're
difference
fans of
with
it,
Martinez and Maupay is because I think Martinez is better at getting in people's heads with it, and therefore it gives you a competitive advantage.
Martinez won the World Cup doing it.
Indeed.
And the Golden Glove.
Neil Maupay's.
Yeah, Maupay got a move to Marseille. And Marseille are a fine club.
Although, it's interesting you say that, but Martinez did only win the World Cup because of Neil Maupay, because he, of course, injured Bernd Leno. Emi Martinez then got into the team at Arsenal, won the FA Cup, got his move to Villa, got called up to the Argentina national team, and obviously the rest is very confusing history.
I don't think Emi Martinez is a prat. I think he's I think he lives the sort of shithousery a bit more and is more effective. I tell you what, if Luke was here, I reckon Luke would say Sean Dyche.
Or Gary Cottrell, which is also a strong
I know
answer,
I put those words in Luke's mouth. I honestly don't think he'll mind, but Sean Dyche can come out with some pratty stuff.
Yeah, I think there's often some performative masculinity from Dyche, but also he was a quite vocal Remainer as well. There are things about Dyche I do like, but at the same time, the whole kind of jacket off in the snow thing is a bit tedious, isn't it?
I quite like that because I'm a bloody bloke.
Totally Football Show. Today, after a mad summer of cash splashing and ahead of a bold new campaign, we're looking at this season's title favourites. Can the best team in the world make top 3 in England? Will Liverpool play Wirtz now they're playing Wirtz? How will the 2-pet programme work out for Man City? And after more bridesmaids performances than Man I Feel Like a Woman, are Arsenal now anyone's match? Plus, we peer through the Isaac Hayes to talk Newcastle, chat some Spurs in Championship 2 in this Totally Football Show. Tuesday. Anyway, so much to look forward to in this new season. Loads of new faces. Crazy summer of spending. Not sure what the kind of total figure is so far on Premier League's outlay, but I'm thinking it's going to be mad. Of all the players coming in, or young faces breaking through, which ones have got you most excited, Duncan Alexander?
I mean, there's so many. I enjoyed seeing Florian Wirtz in the Community Shield.
Indeed.
Darting around, playing balls where you're like, oh, didn't know you could pass like that. That's good. I'm pretty excited about the prospect of Sesko versus Gyökeres on the opening weekend.
Ooh.
Just a narrative classico to kick the season off. Obviously, Sesko might start on the bench, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be very much a here's what you could have bought scenario. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been notable, isn't it, that pretty much every club, bar maybe Fulham, and some Spurs fans would also raise their hands, but everyone's splashed out. And yeah, it's no matter how jaded you feel in May, when August rolls around, the excitement mounts.
Shuffle the deck. We're ready for a fresh hand of action, Charlie.
Yeah, those were some of the ones I was going to say as well. I mean, Ekitike was at Liverpool, but definitely having a guy like Wirtz come in for that amount of money, just buying a seemingly ready-made start, and have it. I mean, like, I think the most exciting thing about transfers is always a number 9. The kind of will they score on their debut, and you know, this feels like a big summer for number 9s. I'm curious to see how Trent does at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Sort of an opposite one of these, and Zubimendi looks like being quite a player.
Perhaps narrative changing at Arsenal. I'm pretty pumped to have a look at Grealish, Jack Grealish at Everton, as well as all the names you mentioned. Esteval lining up for Chelsea after his banging goal against them in the Club World Cup. Daniel, if you're still talking to me, who are you most looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward to seeing Morgan White. Morgan White after
like a new signing
in July. That was good. And the shamelessly hipster answer is Maxime de Kuyper, new Brighton left back.
Oh,
looks really, really kind of exactly what you'd imagine a Brighton left back look like flying at the pitch and flying back. They've obviously loaned out, or got rid of Purvis Estupiñán to Milan.
Yep.
So yeah, he's going to start, and he looks like one of those players that in 3 months' time Chelsea will try and work out why they haven't already paid £60 million.
I was going to say, how long till he's downing tools to get that Chelsea move?
Yeah.
Well,
good luck to him.
Speaking of downing tools, of course, the build-up to the new season very much dominated by the tale of one man and his desire to break free of that gilded prison up on Tyneside. We'll come to that very, very shortly, but the bulk of today's show, the plan is that we're going to be looking at, as we start our Premier League preview, we're looking at the contenders for the number 1 slot, the big 4, if you will, which I've kind of got down as Liverpool, because they're the champions, Chelsea, because they're the world champions, Man City, because Man City, and Arsenal, because I will not learn. No Man United in there, which I know based on last season's result is not a surprise, but because it's Man United, there's still a bit of a twitch thinking, ooh.
And no Europe.
And no Europe.
Signed a load of players. So.
The no Europe thing is just
ever since Leicester.
Yeah.
Well, I was consecutive
Napoli.
seasons, wasn't it? Because Chelsea did it. Chelsea then won the Premier League in 2017 without Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think more than ever now that does make a massive difference. Like when
No,
you're talking
Europe.
about when you're talking about eight game
In
group
football,
stages.
as in the country.
Get the players on the grass and they learn
Yeah.
so much. They learn more on midweek days than weekends. Scientifically proven.
Daniel, should we have included United as opposed to holding them back to our second preview show? Actually, to draw in the listeners for that, because they're always a bit of a...
What?
I don't want to be all Harry hot take, but I don't think Manchester United will win the Premier League. They seem to me to have bought sort of luxury items when they still have the need for... I mean, it's still the same defence, goalkeeper and central midfield is my point.
And we should probably point out that Cunha and Bremo were the two big overperformers on XG last year, and Sesko did not exactly rip up the goal-scoring charts in Germany. Now, that doesn't really mean that much because, they might all click and it might be lovely, but yeah, I think they're very much a wait and see how they start.
Wait and see until Thursday. I got them down as when in our second preview show, we'll go deep on Man United. We're also today going to be looking at the other two teams who did make the Champions League, one of whom was Spurs, courtesy of that Europa League victory. The other one is Newcastle, who I read in The Athletic, their fans have won this season's prize as the most pessimistic ahead of the new campaign. This ties in largely with the story we were just referencing, Alexander Isak's desire to do one. There's been fresh talk of that this morning, Tuesday, as we record. So let's begin today by quickly wrapping up with George Corkin, live from Tyneside, what exactly the situation is with Alexander Isak and whether he will end up giving the Magpies the bird. George Corkin joins us now.
Let me tell you, I'm loving life.
Excellent. Newcastle top of the table, I read. Top of the pessimism table.
Top of the pessimism table, but yeah, that's a very optimistic way of looking at pessimism. Yeah.
Are fans right, Newcastle fans that is, are they right to be so concerned about the season ahead?
I mean, it's a very interesting one, isn't it? I mean, as a as someone who's watched Newcastle all my life, and as someone of a certain age, I'd always thought about winning something, that being the sort of the final goal. They did it a few months ago, and so bigger picture, I don't really care anymore. But I don't suppose that's like the answer you want to. I mean, it has been, it's been a very weird summer. For the first time, after 3 transfer windows without bringing in a first-team ready player, they had money to spend. They're trophy winners. They're in the Champions League for the second time in 3 seasons. They've got a fantastic coach. They've got a fantastic team in the old-fashioned sense of the word. They've got some great players. There was a lot to look forward to, but it's been a real mess. There've been a host of rejections from their sort of top targets. They haven't got a sporting director. They haven't got a CEO in place. And, hanging over all of it has been Alexander Isak. So, I mean, the big picture stuff that I said at the top in terms of, having a good platform to attack this season does remain the case. And if they bring in another couple of players before the end of the window, which I'm sure they will do, they could still go on and have a good season. But it does feel like a sort of crossroads moment for the club, I would say.
And a crossroads moment for Isak, as you reference. Where do you think we're going to be in 2 weeks' time on him?
I wish I could say. It's one of those sagas that has a multiple of truths and very few facts. So if you speak to the club, he's not for sale, or to put that a different way, a valuation of £150 million. And they would need big replacements to come in as the days move on. That gets less and less likely. As our colleague David Ornstein has reported this morning, Isak is saying he won't play for the club again. The big sort of strategy this summer was to keep Isak and hopefully to give him a better contract, an enhanced contract, possibly with a release clause. As the summer has gone on, that strategy has changed slightly, and it's been to try and tough it out. I mean, I think there's been that thought that if they can get to the end of the window, Eddie Howe can use his powers of motivation to sort of reintegrate him and get him back playing for the team. But at this point, I can't call it, and it's really sad because he has been an astonishing player for Newcastle. He's their most complete centre forward since Alan Shearer, I would say. He was part of that incredible moment at Wembley, and for him to behave the way he has, albeit there's a context, to it, has just been really disappointing.
The thing I don't really understand with this is that what leverage does Isak have? You know, this reminds me a lot of Harry Kane in 2021 when I was covering Spurs. He had 3 years left on his deal. He said, I'm not coming back to training. He missed the first day. That's it. I'm done with this club. And Spurs are like, okay, well, City need to come in with a huge offer. If they do, maybe we'll think about it. But you're our player. You're under contract for 3 more years. You're not going. And as much as he can say, I'm never playing for you again, ultimately, I kind of feel like if Newcastle can sit out the window, he'll miss 3 league games max if he does stick to this, so I'm going to sulk. And then what does he do? He'll get bored and he'll play again and everyone will kind of forget about it. I know this feels huge and epochal and like, oh, this is the biggest thing ever, but Suarez was the same with Liverpool. He was like, I'm never playing for you again. Well, guess what? He did, and he had his best season ever with them. Kane stayed for 2 more years, was brilliant. I know it's like awful when your best player's doing this, but I just don't really see what he can do. Newcastle hold all the power here. He's got 3 more years on his deal. If he stays 1 more year, gives them a great year, they can then sell him next year and they'll still get huge money. Like, I don't know, it feels very...
It's another tough summer for gentlemen's agreement.
Yeah, but he doesn't really... he's got no leverage.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Charlie, and I think that's what Newcastle would hope. And obviously, you know, you can say you're not going to play again, but then, oh look, here come the Champions League fixtures. You know, this is absolutely the platform that Isak would want. There's a World Cup at the end of it. There's that to play for. So, you know, sort of logically, absolutely, what you say there is correct, and I'm sure that's what kind of Newcastle are hoping for. In the present, though, it's very, very toxic. And,
sure, yeah.
You know, to have somebody training apart from the first team as he has been, you know, that sort of thing can be a dressing room killer. And, you know, you're talking about something bigger than one player. And I think, again, to look at it from a you know, a purely Newcastle perspective, this is the second summer in a row where there has been huge flux, at the top of the club, but then also around the dressing room. So you go back 12 months and it was Anthony Gordon who'd had his head turned by Liverpool. Ultimately, that didn't lead to anything, and ultimately Howe brought the dressing room back round. But the first half of last season, I mean, it gets forgotten now because of how it ended up, but the first half of last season was a real struggle, and he had a dressing room. I don't want to say it was disunited, but there were rumblings in the dressing room. There were some players who were disaffected, and it took a massive effort to turn it around. And you can never say with any certainty how a season will go. So yes, Isak, you know, can and could be reintegrated, but there's no guarantee that it leaves Newcastle facing a good season.
And the options to bring in, should he leave, are getting fewer and fewer of the ones that were on Newcastle's list, I imagine. George, by the way, is there a good Newcastle podcast that people can keep abreast of Isak and Newcastle-related developments on?
That's a very good question. Sadly, no. No, there are many good Newcastle podcasts. Pod on the Tyne, formerly brought to you by The Athletic, has gone independent this summer. We're really proud of our association with The Athletic. They've been brilliant in terms of helping us go independent. But yeah, we're relaunching this week, and with the same team, with the same usual mix of nonsense and more nonsense, and really, really excited about that.
Okay. You were under contract for another 3 years, but you said there's no way we're integrating with these people again. And looking forward to hearing your new direction. The good news, let's talk about the good news for Newcastle. The trophy drought is over. The Tyne-Wear Derby is back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if how many Newcastle fans would say that's good news. I mean, I love it. I love that day. You know, it's unique. It's different to anything else. It's different to any other. You know, I'm not saying it's unique in the world of football. It's certainly unique to our part of the world, though. There is just that feeling of heaviness around the day, of meaning. In the past, it's been horrible in the sense that it's been one club dragging the other one down, usually. My dream has always been that it could be two clubs lifting each other up and competing for things at the top of the table. Obviously, it's going to be very tough for Sunderland, although they've done a lot of business in the window. So see how that pans out. But yeah, I can't wait. Those fixtures are what it's all about.
Newcastle supporters topping the Athletics' pessimism league. Where do you stand? Are you cautiously optimistic? Where would you forecast Newcastle's season going?
Don't want to make it all about me. I mean, I do, obviously, but when I was at the Times, I used to call myself a chronicler of misery because North East football was so sort of bad at the time. What I didn't know was that my bosses, my colleagues at the Times, actually called me the Pope of Mope, which I found out about after I left to join the Athletic, and I kind of love that. So this is my natural habitat. This is me at my very best. I mean, I don't want joy, being good. As this summer has shown, being good is vastly overrated. It's really quite difficult. So, just give me misery. I think, to be serious, they do have a great team and they have a great coach. I think if they can get to 6th or above, then I think in these circumstances that would be a terrific season.
George, look forward to hearing you on Pod on the Giant and hopefully from time to time with us here on Totally Football Show, and enjoy what's set to be a busy week or two in the meanwhile.
Thank you.
More from the Pope of Mope to the guys with size. Daniel, what's your take on Isak and his hatred for everything Newcastle related?
I do think, I know those examples of Kane and Suarez, and you can go back to the kind of the 90s and Van Hooijdonk and, Odemwingie literally driving to a different club and all that stuff. This one feels slightly different to me just because I think since then we now increasingly live in the age of the kind of transfer rumour micro update, so that everything that happens is a big story of that day. I think just the amount of briefings and the severity of the briefings and how quickly this is and how badly this has escalated does feel different. I also think the two fan bases concerned make it different. Newcastle invest a heck of a lot emotionally into players, and they definitely have done with Isak, and rightly so, because they created an environment in which he has developed and flourished and taken them on. And let's face it, they've taken him on as well. They paid a lot of money for someone who was not a guaranteed product when they signed him. And the demand of Liverpool fans initially for this deal to be done, probably more online, I think, than in person, but it just feels like it's kind of this sort of really nasty tidal wave that sort of washed over everything. And I do think that makes it different. I also think, George touched on it, but the lack of structure at Newcastle really hasn't helped this situation. I think we're led to believe that Isak believes he was due a contract when Paul Mitchell came in as director of football, and then that was sort of put to one side, and then there was a messy exit for Mitchell, and then he still hasn't been formally replaced. And I think that absence of structure, that kind of leadership vacuum, that's the thing that should be of some regret here. You can't really change. Newcastle couldn't have done any more for Isak in terms of creating an environment for him and in making him feel loved and in, turning him to an elite footballer. But they could have done something else there, and that will probably be the lasting regret if the deal goes ahead.
I think that's true, Daniel, but I just think by September, were they to stick it out, we'll have moved on to something else, and we won't have all the transfer obsession in quite the same micro-updatey kind of way.
That is true, but the only thing in between now and that glorious era of freedom is Newcastle v Liverpool on Monday the 25th of August, which A, you imagine would be quite a good atmosphere, and B, you do wonder whether, something might happen after that. Like, if you were Newcastle and you were resigned to selling Isak, you'd probably hold out until after then for Viz, if nothing else.
There was a good one a couple of years ago as well. I really like when Caicedo in the January 23 window was basically like, I'm not coming to training, I'm done with this club. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll take a couple of weeks off and we'll see you in February. And sure enough, that's what happened.
There you go.
He kind of got bored, came back and was really good, and then left for loads of money that summer.
At work, everyone should try that.
It's like as a kid, you sulk, you go into your room, and you're like, slam the door, and then you're just like, I'm quite bored of being in my room on my own. I think I'm going to go back downstairs. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there, Daniel, about kind of micro updates, and I do think it is interesting with a club like Newcastle that, they have the most pessimistic fans off the back of this summer, and I get it, but it does also speak to the fact that summers now are so dominated by transfer talk and the fact that day by day you've got these dopamine rushes of, oh my gosh, we're linked with this player, oh, he's gone for someone else, and it's this kind of like these whirlwind romances that develop in fans' mind. If you actually take a step back, if you were actually to kind of take a step back, you say they're in the Champions League, they've just won a trophy, they have made they're about to sign Dior for what, 35 million. They signed Elanga for 55 million. Those are two signings. The window's still a few weeks left. They might make some more signings. And if Isak were to stay, that they might end up, and it's not been like this horrendous period that in the round, it's just that day by day, now that these updates are so transparent and we have all these ups and downs, it kind of feels that way.
Liverpool Premier League champions, are they the team to beat? Question mark. Well, Crystal Palace did on Sunday. Palace has spent, I think, about two. Did they though, Sir Duncan? They did though. They took that trophy.
Not a trophy, it's a shield.
Took the shield.
Took the shield after a draw, not the trophy after a win, I think is the official start.
Well, one or two takeaways from Wembley, which are always a slightly dodgy proposition, but what's going on at the back for Liverpool? How's Mo Salah going to fit in? But then also on the other side, how brilliant does it look like the season's going to be for Liverpool fans watching Ekitike and Wirtz? What do you think? Liverpool, are they the team to beat? Daniel?
I really can't work them out. It's really unusual for a title winner to basically try and rebuild half a squad in the same transfer window, which is pretty much what Liverpool have done. Some of that was enforced by the sale of Trent Alexander-Arnold and the need to upgrade the forward line, and obviously part of that is the horrific circumstances surrounding the passing of Diogo Jota. But what Liverpool now have to my mind, is a team that dominated last season because they were brilliant at controlling games, particularly with midfield. And I don't really know how that works now. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying I don't know how it works, because Jeremy Frimpong is one of, if not the most attacking fullback in Europe, if that's where Liverpool are going to play him every week. Milos Kerkez is not that far behind on the left. And I think it's fair to say that whether they sign Alexander Isak or not now, they will have more of a front three. So if it's Ekitike, Salah and Isak, they are all players who want to stay really high, and they are now trying to integrate Florian Wirtz into a three-man midfield, I guess. And he is a really attacking player as well, and that's what he wants to do. He is also really hard-working, but it's hard to see how that balance remains and how they can control games if the players are playing to their strengths, because I think you basically have 7 outfield players who want to play high up the pitch, and that's really hard to manage. They are still the team to beat, but this is not a case of kind of, to use a Liverpool phrase, we go again. It's not like a business as usual situation. It almost feels like more of a first season for Arne Slot than last season did, which is a bizarre thing to say.
Could be slightly overbalancing. Good thing Virgil van Dijk shows no sign of suddenly falling out of form.
He always is rusty in pre-season and then is fine when it starts. I mean, we saw in the Community Shield that, I don't think a midfield of Szoboszlai and Jones is going to stop many teams. So, I mean, Gravenberch obviously was one of their key players last year. He's suspended for the first game, so you'd imagine McAllister will be back in. Has been managed carefully during pre-season. He's had a minor injury. So, I share Daniel's fears, concerns, interest. Delete is applicable. But I do think, just as this time last year, no one really had Liverpool as title winners, I do think everyone has just gone, they're going to win the league. I can't really make a case for anyone to win the league.
Yeah, I've had this exact same thought, Daniel, that it is really unusual. And I think, and I looked at Ollie Kay's written in his piece that the last time the champions were the biggest spenders was 2019, and before that which was Man City, and before that was 2007, which was United. So it is quite rare for the teams to the league to I mean,
although they're not the biggest spenders, and I hesitate to use this phrase, in net spend.
This is true,
so
but
I think only 5th.
True, but even so,
unless they bring in Isak, in which case
sound the net spend klaxon.
Sure, but even that speaks to the churn. Yeah, it's kind of amazing, and you think as well. I think maybe we are slightly underestimating the importance of Trent and Andy Robertson. Like that has been such a key part of their success for the best part of a decade. Right. And because Trent happened so long ago, it kind of, and it was heavily trailed. It feels like that's old news, but that's a big thing.
But that was also part of the good news, I guess, of Sunday, was watching Frimpong and Kerkez. Because if you have to replace two fullbacks like that, you couldn't. You'd be hard-pressed to come up with better alternatives than Kerkez and Frimpong. Frimpong obviously looked electric.
For sure, but I mean, how many times have we seen great debuts and then actually is that sustainable over 1 year, let alone 2, 5, 10, like these guys?
Remember the Community Shield 3 years ago where Núñez looked amazing.
Yeah.
Haaland missed a complete sitter.
And that, that's not to say that those two aren't great replacements. They do look ideal, but we're talking about two really critical players for Liverpool, on top of then all the change that's happened at the top end of the pitch.
I mean, the counter is that Liverpool do still have Andy Robertson and they do have Conor Bradley, who would kind of almost solve those issues if they wanted to become less attacking. I did think Kerkez was caught out of position quite a lot on Sunday.
But Robertson isn't what he was. I mean, he's clearly not. They don't deem him now to be at the level to be the regular starter.
True, but that's when he's been playing every week. I think as a sort of occasional left back in big games where Liverpool need to defend more, I think he's still a pretty reliable option.
Duncan, you don't see Liverpool as being a step above the other contenders?
Not really. I think that you can make it just as good if flawed case for City or Chelsea or Arsenal.
Okay.
That's not to say Liverpool won't do it, but I do think none of the contenders is like Manchester City were a couple of seasons ago, or Manchester United were at various points in Premier League history. They're all in a state of flux. They're all trying something new this season.
I think as well there's the Salah AFCON factor as well, and also just
he's going to be away from mid-December to depending on how long Egypt are in the competition, till potentially mid-January.
Yeah, and I think he'll miss some quite big games then, and also, someone like him who was at such a crazy level last season. That's always a curiosity. Can he sustain that, especially the age that he's at? I also think, and this is boring to say in some ways, but last season showed, you mentioned, Duncan, that Liverpool didn't go in as the big favourites. Last season kind of showed us that stuff does happen that you just can't really foresee. Like the things fell, like, I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win the league. Of course they did. They were by far and away the best team, but things fell for them. City lost Rodri for the season. We didn't know that was going to happen, and I think
Arsenal lost Odegaard, then Saka,
and you just don't know that. Maybe Liverpool will lose a key player, but I think you're right, Duncan, that they're all close enough that any of them could win if things certainly fall in their favour.
I think it's exciting. I think it's one of the most kind of like up in the air starts to Premier League season for a long time. That actually makes it good.
In particular, it looks like being potentially tremendously exciting, Daniel, with the prospect of 4 up top with Salah, Kitike, Wirtz, and if they bring in Isak, is that madness? Or Gakpo if not?
Yeah, I mean, they have got a huge amount of options. I do think that under Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool tended to go in, I think, non-deliberate. It's just how it shook out. But Liverpool tended to go in waves of targeting Premier League and Champions League. I do wonder whether, having won the Premier League last season, whether, I don't know if you ask supporters now, maybe this is like a Champions League Liverpool season. It feels like a team that has got so many weapons that in an individual match, the options they're going to be able to bring off the bench in the final third are extremely good. If Mohamed Salah gets to AFCON unscathed and is back to hit the Champions League knockout stages at full speed, assuming Liverpool get there, I wonder if this is a season of Liverpool kind of maybe just going for the Champions League. Obviously supporters want both, but I completely agree with the other two that it's the excitement of this season for me. I did my enforced predictions for the paper this morning, and I think I pretty much had them all the same top 4 in order, with the caveat that I'm just doing this because I don't know enough that's changed from last season, if there's enough evidence, and you could genuinely roll them all out in a completely different order.
But one little prediction now, will Isak end up at Anfield in the next few weeks? Duncan?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards yes.
Charlie?
I've felt like no throughout, so I'm going to stick with that.
So Liverpool have tooled up for another campaign. Who are their likeliest opponents for the title? Arsenal, who've been runners-up for the last 3 seasons. City, trying to bounce back from their first trophyless campaign in 8 years. Or champions of the world, Chelsea, who were also, about a month before that, the 4th best team in the Premier League. Who's your money on, Charlie?
I don't know. It is really difficult. City so much depends on Rodri and how fit and injury-free he's able to stay this season. Obviously, we gather he'll miss the first few games of the season as it is, and you tend to see, post-ACL, players are more at risk of other injuries, even if they're not serious ones necessarily. It's tough. I mean, like what's so kind of ridiculous about making predictions is all anyone really does is say what the status quo is. You know, if you look at predicted tables, it's kind of what last season was, and we'll probably all end up.
But this is a different team to the one that certainly started last season. A couple of the players came in January. You've got a bunch of other arrivals since then.
For City, you mean? Yeah.
For City,
yeah. I mean, I guess given their pedigree under Guardiola, you'd have to say you'd imagine they'd be in the top two.
And they've also got new arrivals on the bench next to Pep with Kolo Touré and Pep Linders joining Double Pep. Yeah. So what is that? Pep Linders, who was with Klopp in his heavy metal.
And also James French, who was the Liverpool set piece guy. He's gone over to City. So City are kind of like, in some ways, they're the Klopp team now. So I think you can almost, if you took Arsenal's defence, Chelsea's midfield and City's attack and crunched them together, that would be a team that would...
Would you rather have City's attack or Liverpool's attack?
Well, this was a team to challenge Liverpool, I was thinking.
Oh, right. That'd be difficult, wouldn't it,
Yeah.
logistically?
But as we said before, they're all good teams, but with issues. And I think, unlike a lot of seasons, we don't know until the season starts how that's going to play out. You know, like Arsenal in pre-season looked a bit like last season when they were struggling to create clear-cut opportunities. They did a bit better against Athletic Club in their last friendly, but a lot of them, it was a lot of the same issues they saw last season. So there's a lot of things for these teams to fix, and we're about to find out whether they have.
City need to fix. Do you think that's the big question mark for you, Daniel?
Yeah, there are three really. One is undoubtedly Rodri, and I think it is a concern that he does seem to be getting those muscle injuries, having been very well managed minutes-wise by Guardiola last season to try and ensure that doesn't happen, and it has still happened. My big question with City is it possible for players who effectively had a year off form-wise to come back and be exactly what they were? Phil Foden was way off it last season for various reasons. Erling Haaland only scored 4 league goals from February onwards, which is it's completely off kilter for him. I just don't know whether adding new players to that makes it more likely for those players to get back really quickly, or actually it will take a lot more time for that to happen, and therefore whether they might be playing catch up again as they were last season. The kind of elephant in the room here, and the reason it's so hard to predict, is that the title winners last season only got 84 points.
They did. Though they tailed last 4 games when they'd won it, they only got 2 points.
Yeah,
so
they
it's slightly
did.
skewed.
But second place was 10 points below that. So there's there is a significant gap to bridge for those players. We're talking about if we think that Liverpool are going to be at least as good as 84 points again, and I don't think that's particularly controversial, there is quite a big gap to bridge. And I think there are enough questions about City that that I'm not completely sold. I think they're third favourites for a reason, put it that way, which would have been an unthinkable thing to say 12 months ago.
But am I the only one who, talking about Man City, Daniel mentioning an elephant in the room, thought he was going in a completely different direction?
The Chargers, yeah.
Sorry, Charlie, you wanted to make a point.
No, well, I think that's an interesting point that Daniel raises about can they lift themselves. All I would say on that is, if you remember in 2019-20, very similar season they had. Liverpool won the league at a canter, and City were way off it, and it felt like absolutely the end of a cycle. It felt like players had lost motivation. A lot of them, we read, didn't want to play for Pep. They went and won the next 4. So who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that will necessarily happen again, but he has got previous Pep for regenerating in that way that Ferguson used to do. And the way that Liverpool are trying
Pep
to do now.
Linders has seen that at Liverpool in the Klopp.
Knows it better than anyone.
Issues for City, issues certainly for Arsenal and Chelsea too, are there? Equivalent issues or fewer question marks?
Chelsea are
they the most intriguing question ahead of this new season?
I mean, we're 2 years on from me saying they'd come second and being widely mocked for 2 years. But they're world champions now, so who's laughing now? No one. But yeah, I think they've probably got a high ceiling, Chelsea, but they've, the goalkeeping situation is still a concern. But I do think they've upgraded in attack, which is obviously what they needed to do.
And they look like a team transformed at the Club World Cup. They look like a team that had assimilated what Maresca wanted of them, that with Delap and particularly with João Pedro coming in, no longer that had shaken off those finishing issues, which had been a real problem.
I think in some ways they kind of, the Club World Cup was Maresca shaking off his own philosophy a little bit. He did cut loose a little bit more, which I think, obviously PSG found out what that can result in the final. So I think for me it's whether Maresca kind of overthinks it a little bit this season, and whether he can get that balance of getting Cole Palmer as a sort of creative fulcrum versus, there were points, particularly in the middle of last season, where it wasn't much fun watching Chelsea. They were very, very controlled, and I know the Chelsea fans were getting increasingly irate with how controlled it was. But yeah, I do feel like they've definitely got something, and their squad, through many, many years of purchasing players, it is very deep.
230 million odd this summer. Daniel, would your issues about Chelsea include the fact that they were at the Club World Cup right to the end and therefore had almost no pre-season, and that Levi Colwill is out with a torn ACL and will miss most, if not all, of the season? Would those rank highly?
Yeah, Chelsea are of this group of four by far the ones I'm least high on. I still don't think that defence, for all the money spent, I don't think the defence and goalkeeper are elite. Certainly not with Colwill missing as well. He was a really strong part of that. I still don't know. Like, if you push all their left wingers into one left winger, you get a really elite player, and if you push all their right wingers into one right winger, you get a really elite players. But I don't really see it. I don't think there's enough in them individually. The rotation of them might really work, but I don't see that. And as you say, they've also played 64 competitive matches since the start of last season, which at some point, we talk about the no Europe joke, at some point come February or March, that really has to both harm players in terms of energy levels, and also I think psychologically, a lot of those players who have played a lot of those matches are going to have a World Cup next summer, a really long 7-week World Cup in really hot weather. I just think psychologically it's quite hard to deal with that. I do think they've upgraded the attack. I think João Pedro already looks a better signing than I thought he might be, a kind of more ready to go signing. But I don't think, I have them kind of in their own league in fourth place, basically.
They also had the Champions League this season. Last season they had the Conference League, which they would heavily rotate for. So that's a big ask of your squad. We saw that with all the teams that were in the Champions League last season, suffered injuries to varying degrees.
Right. So not Chelsea then. What about another London team, Charlie? What about the Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're the only team in top flight history that have come second 3 times in a row, and they've done it twice now. And the last time they did it, they then won the league off the back of those consecutive second place finishes. There's no reason why they can't. I mean, they've established some very strong foundations. In each of the last 2 seasons, they've conceded the fewest goals, and we used to talk about defenses winning titles and kind of think whoever had the best defense would win. I think that's probably flipped a bit, but it's still a great foundation to have. The question, last season, the injuries notwithstanding, the biggest issue that they had was drawing games. They drew so many games, and they were ahead in a lot of those games. And I think the issue they had was that they didn't, partly because of the injuries, they didn't have the firepower to bring on to close those games out. They have addressed that, and I think what may be decisive, having talked about transfers and their importance, is, can they get another player in to bolster the left-hand side? Because they've been so strong on the right for a long time. It's the left where they're kind of good but not great, which means teams can focus on getting Saka and Odegaard out of the game. If they were to bring in an Eze or someone like that obviously elevates them. The Gyökeres factor is a big unknown, because finally they've done what everyone has said, which is, you've got this great team. All you need is a guy to come in and score a load of goals. Simple, you'll win the league. We'll see if Gyökeres, A, if he can do that, but B, whether the team not suffers necessarily, but has to shift in the way that City did with Haaland. They had to alter their way of playing. So it's going to be really interesting. And Zubimendi, who I mentioned at the top, he looks like he might be the most important signing, more so than Gyökeres. I mean, he looks like he could be their Rodri.
Him and Rice are combining really well. I mean, again, with the massive caveat that you can never judge anything from pre-season games, but they have worked well together.
How strong are you on Arsenal, Daniel?
Yeah, I am strong. I think my big... fear is the wrong word, it's too strong, but my big kind of question mark is whether they can deal psychologically with what I would now call as a no excuse league season. I think there were valid reasons to finish second in each of the last 3 years, and they should feel very proud to have done that. But the signing of Gyökeres, as well as changing how the team operates, it also has to change the mindset. Everybody knows that, everybody has said, as Charlie mentioned, they only need this and they win the league. Well, they've got this now, and there are no excuses. And finishing second this season will not be viewed as a success in the way that it may have been in the last 3 years. Sometimes
you're saying there are no excuses, but what about the ball? It's going to be manufactured by Puma, and I understand they've had difficulties with that in the past.
Well, that kind of play, that brings me to, you bring me to Mikel Arteta there, because there have been times when his management style of playing on the edge or coaching on the edge, literally of the touchline, if you ask Richard Keys, but it's all felt quite fraught. And the weird thing about last season, as Charlie mentioned, is that they drew quite a lot of games and it actually felt quite flat. It's going to be finding the balance between, having that upbeat, we need to be up tempo to win games, and also not getting too frayed, because they did get a bit too frayed in previous seasons, particularly 2 seasons ago. I'm fascinated to see how that works. If they manage that right, there's no reason why they can't win the league. But I kind of fear that if Arsenal are comfortably second or third in November, December, it's quite easy to see how everyone gets a bit frantic and thinks this is our time, and we can see it slipping away.
Just on Kesey, he did point out that Gyökeres has used the Puma ball before in Portugal, so he should be up to speed with it.
Excellent. Nice. And did so well with it.
He also pointed out Jack Grealish might play at Goodison, which seems unlikely. But Arteta is, I think the fan base, the wider Arsenal fan base this is Arteta's last big chance to win a league for them, I think, in terms of it's come so close for so long. I think if you look at why it didn't work as well last season, why, as Daniel says, they drew a lot of games, Odegaard really dropped off and was unable to sort of break down opposition defences.
And out for a lot of the season and then recover.
Yeah, true. Very true. But you wonder how much, firstly, Ethan Ranieri will get a chance to play this season, and whether Arteta will be tempted to plunge 15-year-old Max Dowman into action.
15-year-old Max Dowman, who has featured heavily in pre-season. How excited should fans broadly across the spectrum be about this youngster?
He does look special. I mean, it's impossible to get your head around the fact that he's 15. I mean, it's so crazily young, and he does. I mean, again, it is different intensity, but he played against teams like Newcastle, and it didn't feel like they were going easy on him. The opposite, in fact. He got an early reducer from Joelinton, and he does look pretty tasty. I don't imagine we'll see a huge amount of him this season. That feels a bit crazy.
What position is he, Chuck?
He plays kind of where Saka and Nwaneri do. I mean, they've produced this crazy group of incredibly talented left-footed attackers who play out on the right. So in pre-season, he's played as a kind of conventional right winger. I don't know if as he develops, he might move inside a little bit, which is what Nwaneri's done, having played on the wing last season. The idea, I think, is that he'll play a bit more centrally. But at the moment, he just gets the ball, stands defenders up, twists them inside out, can get to the byline. Seems like he's got a decent right foot as well.
I mean, those in the know sort of say he's the best English prospect since Wayne Rooney. If it doesn't go perfectly for Arsenal, will Arteta just start using everything at his disposal, which could include Dowman?
The Arsenal youth. Right, they've got a tough start, haven't they, the Gunners? In their first 6 games, they visit Old Trafford, Anfield and St James's, while also welcoming Man City and Nottingham Forest to the Emirates. It all begins with Man United away. Spurs winning the Europa League. Seems so long ago now, doesn't it? Of course, so much has changed since then. Son has gone, Maddison's done his ACL, Ange has gone, Morgan Gibbs-White has left them at the altar. But as the new season rules into view, not only have you got Champions League football, you've also got one of the most exciting managers in the Premier League, Thomas Frank. Is that fair? Mo Kudus coming in from West Ham, and less exotically, but still, almost perhaps more influentially, João Palhinha coming in from Bayern Munich, which, when you think of the numbers he used to produce at Fulham, could be a real change for Spurs. Daniel, what are your thoughts on Tottenham Hotspur this season? Higher than 17th?
Higher than 17th. João Palhinha is I cannot think of a more fitting player for that kind of, you walk into a pub and hear someone saying, I really like that João Palhinha sign. That's exactly what Tottenham needed, that energy in midfield. It is perfect for that. And to be fair, that man in the pub is pretty much right. I'm still slightly underwhelmed at how I hoped that getting Thomas Frank in, who was at a club at Brentford, who were, as well as being smart on a lot of things, were really efficient with transfers. In the last few days, Frank has kind of slightly hinted at this. He sort of said, paraphrasing, but he sort of said, Brentford is a club that gets stuff done, whereas at Tottenham we seem to be talking quite a lot and there's a lot of meetings about things and then we push forward. I'm slightly surprised that they haven't gone harder early, because what new managers need, particularly those that step up to a club in the same league and a club with more pressure and more scrutiny, they obviously need a full pre-season, which he's had, but they really like getting the transfer business done early, so then that they can effectively create a squad and not have to, do anything with it during August while the games start. And they haven't really done that. I know they've signed Kudus and I know they've signed Palhinha, but there's still quite a lot of work to do, I think, with that squad. I think he will benefit massively from being a very good defensive coach, replacing a guy who played with a suicidally high line at times for most of his Tottenham reign. I think that will help him, and I think that organisation will probably take a little bit of getting used to for Tottenham fans, because it won't be quite as swashbuckling, but it will make more sense. But I just don't know how those attackers create chances playing as Brentford did. I don't quite get that working yet, and I think they really need a number 10, because Maddison, it looks like he's going to be out for a while. Sadly, I don't think Tottenham can ever fully trust that they're going to get a full season out of him. So yeah, they need a player to sort that, and I'm slightly concerned that it's happening so late, but then Tottenham fans will say that's always the way.
Eze they are back in for, apparently.
They're back in for Eze,
yes,
are they?
Good point, yeah.
Heung-min Son now of LAFC. I felt a little bit sad that he didn't get to bow out in North London, as opposed to it all kind of coming out in the middle of an Asian tour. It was an Asian tour, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he may subsequently get I'm sure they will organise something, because he has been
Mr. Spurs.
He has been. I mean, it's incredible, really. But also, it was very sad. But I think the fact that he won the trophy just before, that made it feel like a kind of, he was leaving on a high. He'd done what he had always wanted to do. He'd sort of finally scaled that mountain. I think it would have felt very differently if he'd left, not with his tail between his legs, because he achieved so much. But because he didn't play so much in his final season, if the season had just petered out, and then he was always remembered as being the best player to have never won a trophy with Spurs and all of this, alongside Harry Kane, obviously. But he's got that, he had that crowning moment, and I think that's massive for his legacy and standing.
Goodbye to one of the great XG overperformers of Premier League history.
Right.
One of the great two-footed performers as well. I think he had one of the highest, if not the highest proportion of goals with his weaker foot.
Spurs this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Postecoglou felt like this huge gamble where, like, it felt like in some ways the sky was the limit, but also that they could fall quite far. And weirdly, they sort of did both last season. I mean, they plunged in the league. I always found it so interesting covering him in the first few months, and you listen to him and he was so incredibly persuasive. And I think, where's this going to end? Either he's like, he is the Messiah, or maybe there's... And Frank is...
He is so... Days have passed since Virgil van Dijk lifted the Premier League trophy. Tonight, it all starts over again. The new season is here. It brings new challenges, new opponents, and the chance for new heroes to be made. Strap yourself in. We just don't know what comes next. Who lines up for the Reds tonight? Pete.
Well, we're ready. The new match ball is ready as well, and the players have just made that players' walk a short time ago, fully expectant that they will fight tooth and nail to retain this Premier League title that they won last year. But they're still, of course, in that seat of disappointment after what happened at Wembley last week. Very similar team, but you know Arne Slot has really strengthened from the position they were in as Premier League champions last end of last season. He's made just the one change, and it comes in midfield. Curtis Jones drops down to the bench, and Alexis McAllister comes in. No Ryan Gravenberch, of course, and it means that 4 of his new men make competitive debuts tonight. Let's confirm that team in full for you then. It's Alisson Becker in goal, the mainstay, his 300th Liverpool game tonight. First player to do that in goal since Pepe Reina reaching that tally. Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, Kirkes, of course, back here against his familiar faces from Bournemouth, played 74 games for them. Just walked past us, in fact, a few seconds ago there. Florian Wirtz makes a start, as does Dominic Szoboszlai. McAllister gets the nod, as mentioned before. Sent off here, you'll remember, in 23-24, rightly rescinded that red card. And Mo Salah, who loves playing against Bournemouth, he's got 105 Premier League goals here now at Anfield. Nobody has scored more against Bournemouth than him in the Premier League per se, and he's 3 away now from that record of Billy Liddell as well, 4th on the all-time list. Gakpo in the side as well for Liverpool on that left side. Ekitike making his competitive debut as well, 4 minutes into his last game at Wembley, of course, getting the scoring underway. Could have probably had a hat-trick on the night as well, and a really proud night for the Frimpong family, isn't it? Dad, a massive Liverpool fan, gets his real-time debut here at Anfield tonight. Subs for Liverpool, Mamardashvili, Endo, Jones, Robertson, Leone, Engamoa, got Chiesa on there as well, made his Premier League debut against Bournemouth last season. Harvey Elliott, who scored his first goal against Bournemouth in that 9-0 win back in 22, and Scott Parker sacked, you'll remember, 3 days later. Joe Gomez back in the squad, really, really good to see.
I just wonder what we learned from last weekend in Wembley, and just what the game taught us about what still needs to be ironed out ahead of this season getting underway proper.
I wouldn't just say it was last week's performance against Crystal Palace. I think there's been warning signs right through pre-season. Listen, it's been good at times. We've all been excited with the new signings. It takes time to bed 4 or 5 players in. Players that go into the team, not just players who are on the fringe and are going to bolster the squad. These are players who are going to start week in, week out. So, you know, I think if you go through the games, you could highlight some disappointing results, some disappointing performances. It was never going to be easy trying to integrate these players. Last week, if you want to talk from a one-off, I was really disappointed. I think it was an opportunity to create some momentum. Wembley's not a place to lose. There was a trophy on offer. But I think had we won 3 or 4, I think it might have papered over some of the cracks. I think we looked tired at times, and I think we lacked a little bit of fluidity, which is what can happen if you're trying to bed in 3 or 4 players. It's going to take time. The problem we have is if you look over the Premier League the last 4 or 5, 6 seasons, you can only lose 5 games, 3, 4, 5 games. That's the maximum amount. You have to start the pre-season running. You can't lose 3 or 4 on the spin early on. And Liverpool have to hit the ground running, and it's going to be difficult. They've got the team to do it, the players to do it. But we'll have to wait and see.
The biggest thing about sort of even the Bilbao game and last week's was the energy levels. I looked in sort of the last half an hour, like Bilbao looked stronger. Palace certainly looked stronger. The last 10 minutes I thought we were hanging on. But you geared up to the start of the Premier League. I know there's a trophy on offer. I know there's the Charity Shield, Community Shield. But it's what happens today. That's where you gear your players. So that where I'm saying we look tired, hopefully that is being refined during this week, and we will be ready for today. And you're quite right, you need to hit the ground running. I don't care at what stage of the season. You now can't lag behind after half a dozen games.
So much excitement about the new players, and we'll touch on some of them in a second, but another new player through the door today in Giovanni Leone, signed from Parma. There was a lot of call. We need recruits and reinforcements at centre-half. The club have done just that. So excellent to have another player in that position through the door ahead of the campaign.
Listen, he's only a young boy, 18 years of age, but what's his size? What's his size? Well, maybe I hope that he's finished growing, because he looks like 6'4", maybe even more.
A lot of minutes as well for a young lad.
Yeah, and I think I only seen little bits of him, but listen to people who've watched more of him than I have. They're saying what a player, what a prospect he has. And listen, now they scout all over Europe. We did back when I was with Gerard Houllier, but not like they do now. They do the due diligence. This boy is special, and I think we've had to pay decent money for him. But I would like to think we've got one, which we said, and it's one for the near future. But this boy, hopefully, will find himself in many of the squads, many of the games. He's only 18, but with his potential, if you're good enough, you're ready to go in.
We will hear from him in our post-match show later tonight. If you want to hear the thoughts of our latest edition. And one of the new recruits who did catch the eye last weekend was Hugo Ekitike. He leads the line again today. Some really nice, bright moments from him last Sunday at Wembley, Jason.
First 20 minutes, I thought they're at it. And when, obviously, he gets his goal, great little bit of play with him and Wirtz linking up. And then he just pulls the trigger out of nowhere. And for a striker who's not known as being prolific, I think he only got 15 goals in the Bundesliga last season. You know, he showed his real potential of what he can do in front of goal. You know, he took it really well. He takes it early, good touch. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He just uses defender and lovely placements into the bottom corner, and that'll do him the world of good for confidence, you know, to score at Wembley and get the first. But then just after that 20-minute mark, I thought he just let Palace back into the game, and then Palace kind of dropped it a gear. They started getting in Liverpool's faces, to become a problem, and that's when I agree with Tomo, I think the energy levels just dropped off. Liverpool didn't really seem to have an answer, and it just seemed to be Palace then knocking on the door, looking for that equaliser, what they'd done. But it was a bright 20 minutes from the youngster, from Ekitike,
You can see the starting 11 on the screen just now, just the one change, Tomo, and that is Alexis McAllister, one of the most consistent players last season.
I think he's a starter at any time with most players, particularly ex-players. I think you look at McAllister and what he brings to it. He's tough. He knows the game. He's an experienced international, and I think he's a starter all the time. He's this team's Gini Wijnaldum, where people go, Gini Wijnaldum? Yes, because you'd always relied upon him for the big games, big moments, and he understands the game better than a lot of the players. I did think he'd come back in, but I was wondering, obviously, with Gravenberg, without a doubt, he was coming back in. I know you thought it was Curtis and Dominic were going to start today, but you cannot go into this game without, if he's fully fit, you have to have McAllister in your side.
We don't know. Listen, we don't know what the manager's thought. It might have always been planned. He was never going to play at the weekend, but he was always going to play tonight. We just don't know. I'm only surmising. I feel sorry for Curtis Jones. I think there was a lot of poor performances last week. There was a lot of players who give the ball away sloppy. There was a lot of players who weren't at it. They looked tired. And I think, for Curtis to be left out, it wasn't his fault we got beat last week, and I thought he'd done okay. But for me, I just think McAllister hasn't had enough minutes in pre-season. I think the manager just wants to ease him in a little bit. And I think because of the result in the performance last week, he's kind of maybe been forced into having to play McAllister, and Curtis has had to drop to the bench. But we don't know whether that was the plan or not.
No, certainly don't. Okay, well, tonight is, of course, the first Premier League game since the tragic loss of Diogo Jota. Tonight, Anfield has a special tribute planned. Pete has the details.
Lots of traditions have changed across the years in football, but one that is still very much in existence here at Liverpool, and was back in the 1980s as well, is that the kit man will always leave a matchday programme in the seat of players next to where they get changed, and they quite enjoy flicking through that, just that little moment before they go out and perform in the pressure of top flight football. But tonight's matchday programme will be a uniquely difficult read for Liverpool players. Most of them have contributed to this programme tonight with words that they hope will go some way into explaining their love and in many ways their adoration for a player that sadly is no longer here anymore. And for the LFC family here tonight, it's the first in this period of mourning. There's going to be plenty of them, but the first Premier League game of a brand new season, and the first Premier League game since Diogo Jota was stood just a few yards away from here, so proudly wrapped in his nation's flag, celebrating this wondrous Premier League trophy. And tonight his family are expected here as the LFC family pay tribute to Diogo Jota. It's also the same day that the club have announced that they will bring out a new commemorative T-shirt that is actually sold out when you go into the club shop here just behind us. It's been so popular, but all of the money raised from that will go to the LFC Foundation, and they will bring about a brand new project based around grassroots football that will carry Diogo Jota's name. And then when you walk around the stadium and inside here so far already in this brand new kit that Liverpool brought out at the start of the month, so many of the fans still carry the name of Diogo Jota and the famous number 20 that will never be seen again in a competitive game at the academy, the women's or the first team level. But all of the money that goes from those number 20s will go into this LFC Foundation new scheme carrying Diogo's name as well. It's going to be a really tough night for everybody connected with Liverpool, not just inside this ground, but for everybody watching at home. And many have taken the opportunity in the temporary areas here, the commemorative areas of Diogo Jota, to stay and gather their thoughts. And the club are working very hard with the family too for a more permanent and lasting memorial to Diogo Jota that they will announce details on in due course.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, the manager in his programme notes said that the tributes so far have been special, but these tonight could be the most emotional of those we've seen up until this point. We don't know quite what to expect from it. It's always difficult in these situations, Phil, to know how much we should celebrate someone's life, how long it should carry on for, but it was always important, I think, that tonight it was marked, wasn't it? Because this is the first proper big Anfield Premier League game since we lost it.
And that's the big thing. It's the first Premier League. We won it last week, and you're listening to Pete there eloquently talking about what has happened, and it is. You see the mural now, and listen. If there's one football club who knows how to handle these situations, it's our football club. Sadly, for what has gone on. But we do, and we learn, and we talk to people and asking them what we do and how we do it and how far we go with it. And I think that is it. When you see this memorial of people laying flowers, it's with tremendous emotion that's attached to it. And I think our football club really should be commended for what we do. The sad thing, as I just said, is we've had history with it as well.
There'll be an Andre Silva mosaic on the Kenny. There'll be a Jota mosaic on the Kop as well, ahead of kick-off to mark the passing of both brothers. I guess what you don't know, Jason, I think it's something we've spoken about through the course of pre-season, is you just don't know the impact on the squad through the course of the campaign, and I guess they won't know until they've experienced it, until they lived it. They just have to be left to grieve like human beings, and we sort of live on the outside and let them get on with it.
Myself and Tom tried to pick the bones out of last week and the performance. I think there was always going to be a point in pre-season where the emotional impact of what's happened actually hits them in a performance, and it could possibly be that. We're trying to say, well, it was this and it's that. Pre-season brings its own physical hardship to all the players, having to go out and train every day and, get up to speed. But what the lads have had to contend with is unprecedented from an emotional and a mental impact. And, who knows what the knock-on effect is going to be. They wait round the clock with the counsellors, and Bill Bygroves has been heavily involved in the squad for the players to talk to. But, it's something. We sat down, we went out for lunch and we sat down and we were talking about it. Not one of us has ever been involved in anything like that. Not one of us has lost a teammate in any kind of situation like these boys have. And you can't contemplate what goes through their minds, how they deal with it individually, when they go home, how they deal with it. For me, going away pre-season, I think was really important and come at a good time where the lads could bond, they could be together in an intimate environment where the counsellors and Bill could work with the players from a mental aspect. But now we're down to business, and tonight's going to be terribly emotional, and who knows what it's going to bring an impact to the players. Who knows?
I think emotional is the word to describe what lies ahead this evening, that's for sure. Okay, let's go back outside now, where Pete's been chatting to some of the fans making their way into the game tonight.
Excited for the new season?
Yeah, of course. The atmosphere, just being back at the stadium is amazing. Can't wait to go to the matches, just see all of the new players play. I can't wait for it.
Very excited because we signed loads of new players and I can't wait to see them play.
Yeah, very excited. Big season ahead, we think. First game, we want to win.
What are you most excited about where the new players are concerned?
And Florian Wirtz, our German player. We hope he's a big star for Liverpool and have many titles here.
I'm really excited, to be fair, really excited. I'm looking forward to Frimpong more than anything. He's the main one. Just think he's been brilliant. And Ekitike, I think he's just been brilliant. His hold-up play and everything.
Oh, I'm so excited about commemoration for Jota. I believe it's going to be very emotional, and players are going to be emotional, and hopefully they can keep their calm and focus and get a win tonight.
Finally then, big question, where are we going to finish?
Of course, everyone's probably going to say it first. City don't look too well.
Didn't look well at all. Yeah, Liverpool all the way.
First place. Title again. Number 21.
First. There's only one thing, first. There's not going to be nowhere else. Back-to-back Prems, I think, easy.
First. Winning it easily. Everyone,
Easily?
I've seen a lot of people say that we're going to win it, and I reckon we are as well. I hope so, anyway.
There's been a very popular answer so far. Is there a case to say that they're going to find it more difficult to retain the title and win it, or not?
Oh, definitely. Like, they have the pressure on them to retain the title, so I think it's going to be very hard. But hopefully now they can push through and win it, but I'm not going to say anything before the league starts. Like, it's just, don't want to jinx it, you know.
Well, the fans aren't the only people overcome with excitement. Steve Hunter, he's always excited, and he's back, and he'll be guiding you through all the action here tonight. Steve, what are your thoughts ahead of this one tonight?
Thank you, Mark, my legend, you legend. It's absolutely great to be back, folks. It really is here at the Grail. The champions are ready to go. The stage is set, and hopefully another memorable season in the offering. Of course, as the chaps were alluding to before then, it's going to be an incredibly emotional night tonight, with the two mosaics in the Sir Kenny for Andre Silva and Diogo Jota in the Kop. Diogo's wife and family are here in the stand for this one tonight. They will always be welcomed with open arms. And, you know, I think Jason made a great point before. We can't even begin, can we, as fans, pundits, never mind whatever you want to call it, to comprehend what the players are going through. But they're starting the season now. You know, I think going into the Far East Tour was a good thing for them. You know, players getting minutes again, getting back to full sharpness. There's still a few weeks left of the transfer window, isn't it? So who on earth knows what's going to happen? We've already signed someone a couple of hours ago today as well to strengthen the squad even further. But the test of Bournemouth, well, they're always a decent side to play against, but it's been a big summer for them as well, hasn't it? They've lost a goalkeeper, they've lost 3 out of the back 4, including Milas Kerkez, of course, who lines up for Liverpool against his old club here tonight. And, you know, Kluivert's ruled out injured as well. But they've got some good players. Semenya, we know, is a really lively player down the flanks. But hopefully the Reds can get off to the perfect start and show what champions are made of here tonight. Well, 8 times I've commentated on Mohamed Salah lining up for the Reds on the opening 7 days of the season, and he's found the net. No one quite does an opening night like the Egyptian king.
In a way, because if you take your mind back to last year, and without being too harsh on Man United, they were a weak side. You know, I remember so many teams, Bournemouth, I remember Newcastle, when they went there and demolished them after about 20 minutes. Teams ran all over Man United last season. And your question was valid when you said the players that have come in, they're an upgrade on what they've got. And essentially, that's what you have to do as a coach. You have to upgrade the players you bring in. Are they better than the players at Man United, the players that they've brought in? 100%. Now, the difficulty for Šeško, and you asked the question about, is he a little bit similar to Rasmus Højlund? Well, he actually is, The profile of the two players are very similar. They both like that ball played down the side because both of them are quick. Šeško's really quick. He's got a yard. But it's going to be interesting watching Man United's style. I wonder if they're going to have to try and get the ball forward a lot quicker, because we're seeing a spate in football in number 9s now where the number 9s are technically gifted at coming short. Alexander Isak's that player. João Pedro's that player. You know, Ekitike's that player. Any of the false 9s at PSG are that sort of player. So players are comfortable now coming short and linking the play for the wide players and the midfield players. So this style at Man United is going to be very interesting to watch. And going forward, they could hit teams for 3 or 4. But I still see the weakness, and that's why Rio mentioned Belieber at Brighton. He could be the next one that solidifies what Man United are doing, if not this window, but the next, because they're going to need, because they've signed attacking players now. And the negative for Man United fans, that's been there for about 3 or 4 years, was every single season they didn't score any goals. They were in a negative goal difference every single season. So now they've got the Bruno Fernandes goals, which I think he hit 20 last season, and Buemo hit 20 last season as well. Cunha's an unknown, but he's a maverick. He can hit you double figures. And you'd like to think Šeško in his first year would hit between 10 and 15. So they're starting to add a little bit more goals. So the signs are good for Man United fans. You know, I've placed them 1 or 2 places higher than Rio. But, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's just a window for Man United where they couldn't go all in and they couldn't get the Isak and they couldn't get the João Pedro, but it's looking very positive.
Thank you, Don. Fascinating to spend a bit of time with Rio and get his insight onto what he's expecting from Manchester United this season. Now, we're going to head over to Anfield shortly as Liverpool get set to kick off the Premier League season against Bournemouth. We've also got live action, though, in the Scottish League Cup tonight. Celtic get their defence of that trophy underway, hosting Falkirk at Celtic Park, and that's where we find the birthday boy, Gavin Wallace. Happy birthday, Gav.
Thank you very much, Fletch. I was hoping that would have went under the radar a little bit, but no, unfortunately, everyone finds out. But no, thank you. I appreciate the birthday wishes. I don't look 39 today, and I feel about 59, but that's what Scottish football does to you, mate. We're looking forward to this one tonight. Here, it gets better. I'm actually wearing shorts and T-shirt to work tonight. It'll never catch on. Never mind the Premier League. We've got blue skies. It's 25 degrees at Parkhead. And I've got my shorts and T-shirt on for what hopefully will be a really hot game of football tonight. Celtic, by the way, making wholesale changes to this as they start their defence of the trophy. There's massive changes, however. Schmeichel and Carter Vickers are two of those. Kenny and Trusty come in. And the last time that Falkirk actually won here was in 2007. A young Kasper Schmeichel, who's on the bench, was on loan from Man City, saved a penalty to deny Celtic winning that game today. So, that back then in 2007. So we look forward to what's coming up this evening. Falkirk have just been promoted back into the Premiership. It's mixed fortunes for them as they start, but they've got quite an attacking team as the game is about to get underway here at Parkhead, Fletch.
Top man, thank you, Gavin. That's Gavin Wallace on his birthday, above and beyond, still working, still putting his shift in. So have a good night. It's a massive night, by the way, in Super League, round 22, and it's second against first as the reigning champions Wigan host the current league leaders Hull KR. You can hear commentary of this in full on Sports Extra 2, and Matt Newsom, as he always does on a Friday, is going to keep us across everything, whilst having a look, I think, at Forest transfer window as well, which is starting to gather a bit of momentum as well. Matt, tell us all about this one tonight.
Yeah, this feels a bit like a prize fight, Fletcher, in the sense that it's one that's been in the calendar for ages. It's like Hull KR have just been, knocking everybody off in Super League at the top. Wigan, who won everything last year, have not been too far away behind them. Again, just mostly bashing away all comers. Finally, they're going to meet for only the second time this season. Wigan got the spoils last time. It was the only defeat Hull KR had suffered at that point of the season, and they've only lost 3 and 5 games in the league between them, should I say, correspondingly anyway. So this is genuinely the game that we've all been looking forward to. Who's going to win will most likely decide where the kind of what they call the minor Premiership goes to, where the kind of the regular season title goes to. Obviously, it's the grand final that everyone's playing for at the end of it, but it could be the indicator of like where that initial trophy goes to, and sometimes that is the catalyst for those teams who go on to the grand final. So it's all the heavyweights tonight. Jay Fields in, Jake Wardle, Elliot Marshall, Harry Smith playing in the halves for Wigan, and on the Hull KR side, Mikey Lewis, the little magician, Jack Broadbent, Petter Hickey. It's one of those where everything is tipped up for this one to be an absolute banger, and Wigan Hull KR. Finally, we've got the game. It's a bit like when they finally signed the contract, Fletch, in those boxing with those boxing fights. Those ones everyone's been waiting for. They managed to dodge each other. Well, there's no ducking each other tonight. It should be a belter.
We didn't need Saudi Arabian money for this, Matt, tonight. Just get the Northern boys together and crack on. Another big story, by the way, in Rugby League this evening. Salford's game against Wakefield on Sunday has been called off because of what's described as significant welfare concerns. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's such a shame that on the night where this game is taking place and there's so much positivity, there's a sour note to it as well. So Salford, they've had so many off the field problems. There's a takeover which has been lengthy and protracted. They still haven't really placed the funds in. There's been cash flow issues. 13 of their senior players have left the club. That's left them with only 2 players who actually of any note who played any rugby league this season available, along with a load of kids. So they went to the RFL and the rugby league commercial and said, look, we can't fulfil this fixture. We reckon we'll be able to fulfil this season. So they've cancelled this game. It will most likely result in an automatic 48-0 win for Wakefield. But I think the wider concern is that Salford, can they finish the season? They reckon they can. They reckon they can get the players in. But yeah, it remains to be seen. That will be the kind of ongoing story. Is that it for Salford? Because it's been threatening this for all season.
Matt, thank you. So Sports Extra 2 if you want to hear the Rugby League in full. And on Sports Extra tonight, it's the 100. So let's check in with Nikesh Regani.
Yeah, well, the Northern Superchargers are hosting the Birmingham Phoenix in the men's game here. The Superchargers women earlier winning their match. The Superchargers batting first have just posted 193 for 5, a massive score from their 100 balls, thanks largely to 45 from Zach Crawley, 58 from David Milan, and an unbeaten 31 from just 14 balls for the England white ball captain Harry Brook. Some outrageous shots in there. So 194 the target for the Phoenix. They'll get their chase underway shortly.
Nikesh, thank you. So this is Premier League Kickoff. I'm Darren Fletcher with Don Hutchison, Clinton Morrison and Glenn Murray. And we'll be off to Anfield very soon. The teams are going to come out, so we'll join Lee Blakeman and Stephen Warnock for that. Glenn, just on Bournemouth, and Clinton, come in on this as well, because fascinated to see what they're going to look like this season. They had such a good season last season. At one stage, it looked like they could challenge for the Champions League. They were arguably, at one point, maybe the second best team in the league to Liverpool, the form they were in. They were beating everybody. Then all of a sudden they lose the goalkeeper, Glenn Kepa. He's gone to Arsenal. Milos Kerkez, Ilya Zabani, Dean Howson. I mean, they were so good for them last season. The two centre-backs and the full-back, you'd say world class. So where are they heading into the new season based on the departures and the players they've had to bring in to replace them?
Well, I can't lie, Fletch, it's not ideal, but what I will say is that when Bournemouth are producing players that the likes of Real Madrid, PSG and Liverpool want, they're doing something right. It's really unfortunate that so many of them left in this window, but what I will say about Iraola, and we've seen this at times last season, I think he went up to Newcastle and they won away at St James's Park, and he had something like 15 Premier League appearances on the bench. So he's already shown a good capacity for reinvention in his team. So that gives me hope for Bournemouth. Obviously, you've got Senesi, they've got Truffer, the left back they've signed, and I think how do you pronounce it? Diakite, who they've signed for 35 million. So they have reinvested. It will take them a little bit of time to get used to one another. But ultimately, they also made about £170 million, which is unprecedented for Bournemouth.
Hell of a start for them, Clinton, isn't it, as well? A new-look defence, and the first test is the champions at Anfield.
Yeah, it's tough. I was in the days there because I got the pictures on the TV, and it's showing some great images of Diogo Jota, so that's why I was in a bit of a daze, Fletch. But no, yeah, Bournemouth, I'm not going to be in trouble this year, but the players that they've lost, it's going to be hard for them because they have Diakate's come in, who Mazza said, but they still got Senesi, who played a big part but got injured last season. So Sabani and Howson came in and were brilliant. And Mazza's right. When your top teams are looking at your players, you must be doing something right. But Areola's the one. He's the manager. He's a very good manager, special manager. But they need to re-sign some players. It looks like they're going to lose Watara as well to Brentford, so that's another winger that's going to go. They've managed to keep Semenya, who I thought was outstanding for them. They've still got the likes of Clive out there. They'll always score goals. I like Evan Nilsson. I think defensively they need to improve more because I think it could be a long season. I'm not saying they're going to be in a relegation because I think they'll be comfortably mid-table, but I don't think they'll be looking up last season like they were in them European places.
Yeah, what I will say, Fletch, sorry, can I just jump in, Fletch, a sec? What I will say is, what's the most hardest thing to do in the Premier League is score goals, and so far that front line's not been touched, so they'll be really that's beneficial for Bournemouth. It's the back line, it's the hod carriers that they've lost, Fletch.
Yeah, I'm just going to make the point that we will get over to Anfield, to Lee and to Stephen, when the teams start to emerge, because there is going to be a moment of remembrance before the kick-off for Diogo Jota and Andre Silva tonight. Just looking around the spectators there, a lot of Liverpool supporters wearing Diogo Jota scarves tonight, a lot of Diogo Jota number 20 shirts being worn by the Liverpool supporters as well. So a very, very emotional night in store at Anfield. And the teams are in the tunnel, so we'll get across there imminently. Just very briefly though, Dom, when you think about Bournemouth, they're in that little group of teams, aren't they, where they could they'll sort themselves out over the course of the season. You've got kind of your top 4, top 6. We've got an idea of what the bottom 6 or 7 is going to look like, and then there's that little middle group where you're either going to be potentially bottom half or on the edge of the European race, but it's going to sort itself out over the fullness of time. We're not sure about a whole host of those in that middle group.
Yeah, I mean, this will be the ultimate test tonight, and I wouldn't gauge how Bournemouth are going to do this season on this one game, but I think we're a club, like the guys have said, who have lost some big players, some big personalities, some obviously top talent as well. So they're going to need to reinvest and bring younger players in, young hungry players. Go and find them. Go and use your scouting network, because this is an attractive football club. It's a very good football club. If you're a young player, there's rumours tonight that they might be signing Ben Doak from Liverpool for about 25 million, so they can get these young players and give them time and give them games.
Just seeing an image in the tunnel of Mo Salah on his haunches, Liverpool's main man, the footballer of the year last season. You wonder whether he's got another magical season in him. And the teams are now lining up in the Anfield tunnel. Virgil van Dijk at the head of the Liverpool line, with Alisson Becker, the goalkeeper, behind him. And the teams are going to emerge very soon. It just feels appropriate, really, tonight that the champions start the season. It's what they do in the NFL. The Super Bowl winners play the first game of the season, and tonight the champions are going to begin their defence on a Friday night against Bournemouth and get things underway. The players starting to walk out. Let's join Lee Blakeman and Stephen Warnock at Anfield.
Here they come, the two teams on the opening night of the 2025-26 Premier League season. A special atmosphere at Anfield on a very special night at Anfield. It's one full of excitement as Liverpool begin the defence of their Premier League title, and it's one also full of emotion wherever you look. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, you can just hear the Diogo Jota chant bellowing out around Anfield. You could see Mohamed Salah on his haunches, knowing what the song was ringing out round Anfield and reflecting for a moment about what's going to be ahead. But it's going to be an emotional night, not only for the fans but for the players and the families as well.
And it's worth noting that Diogo Jota's family, including his wife, are in attendance here at Anfield tonight. You were at Preston for that first friendly a few weeks ago, just days after Diogo Jota's passing. Can you begin to describe what that was like and what it's been like around the area in the just over a month since, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's still coming to terms with it. I think Rory Smith spoke excellently about it the other day when he was saying that we don't know how long the players are going to take to grieve about Diogo Jota, the loss of him. Will they still suffer throughout the season? I'm sure they will, but tonight's going to be...
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to
An incredibly special thing to witness here at Anfield. There were Diogo Jota scarves with his face on and the number 20 on, being held up by supporters all around the stadium, including in the away end as well, where they held up a special banner reading Diogo Jota 20 together. And then there was a mosaic in the Kenny Dalglish stand and on the Kop too, in special colours reading out AS30 and DJ20 in tribute of Andre Silva and Diogo Jota. And Stephen Warnock, that was so powerful to be a part of here.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the hairs on your back of your neck are standing up. It makes you so... And do you know what? I can't actually put into words how you feel about it. It's just so emotional, isn't it? And you can see everyone. There's not really a dry eye in the place, and understandably so. So it's such a powerful moment at Anfield.
Liverpool Football Club and the Liverpool supporters did Diogo Jota and Andre Silva proud tonight as the team get the defence of their Premier League title underway. We're off here at Anfield between Liverpool and Bournemouth.
Lee, Stephen, thank you very much. And that really was a wonderful tribute to Diogo Jota and to his late brother as well, Andre Silva, at Anfield. I must say, Don, just observing that, the emotion that was written all over the face of Mo Salah probably brought it home to me as powerfully as anything has in the weeks since Diogo Jota passed. And a lot of people have said, and Stephen referenced it there, Rory Smith saying that you just don't know how long these Liverpool players will need to grieve. And you could see it oozing out of Mo Salah. You could see him thinking about his former teammate. It was written all over his face while he stood there during, first off, You'll Never Walk Alone, and then during the minute silence as well.
Yeah, very, very emotional. Credit to the Bournemouth fans as well for showing their mark of respect. Liverpool fans, as you know, amazing. But I think it's going to be hard, Fletch. And what we don't know is, you know, when you're a player in the dressing room, you lose someone inside the dressing room, a guy that you obviously love and someone that you sit next to every single day. And it's probably reminded the players on when they walked into the home dressing room tonight that Diogo wasn't there. And you're going to see his seats and the memories and the emotion and the Liverpool fans singing You'll Never Walk Alone. It's just so emotional.
It is indeed. So the Premier League season is underway. A wonderful tribute at Anfield for Diogo Jota and for Andre Silva. Liverpool against Bournemouth is a minute and 30 seconds old. It's 0-0 at Anfield, so the season is underway. This is Premier League Kickoff. I'm Darren Fletcher, alongside Don Hutchison, Clinton Morrison and Glenn Murray. After 8 o'clock, we'll be across regularly to the game at Anfield, and we'll also be asking some big questions. Is it now or never this season for both Mikel Arteta and for Arsenal? Is the season the title race a four-horse race? Who are the best of the rest? Who's got the best chance of avoiding an immediate return to the Championship from Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley? And Glenn, Clinton and Glenn. Glenn, Clinton and Glenn? Did you get two Glens and Don? Of course. Glenn, Clinton and Don. Not Glenn, Clinton and Glenn. Although Glenn, Clinton and Glenn is probably the top three, whichever way you look at it, by the time the season ends. Are delighted that the treble is back. This is Premier League Kickoff. We're back in a few minutes after the 5 Live News with Nick Hatfield.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Darren. Good evening. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have arrived in Alaska for their summit on Ukraine. The two leaders are due to discuss how to end the war, with Mr. Trump hoping there will be further talks involving President Zelensky. Mr. Zelensky says he has to be involved in the peace discussions.
Russia must end the war it started and dragged out for years. The killing must stop. A meeting of leaders is needed, at the very least Ukraine, America and the Russian side. Only in this format, effective
Well, Mr. Trump has called the talks high stakes. John Bolton is a former US National Security Advisor.
Trump said a few days ago that he...
Welcome to our audio commentary coverage. This broadcast is not an official product of this competition.
Players leave the club over the summer. Slot say last weekend, fielding the 4 new players in the Community Shield defeat by Crystal Palace, that they needed to give themselves time. Ball out to the left hand side for Gakpo, drops it for Kirke. Season. The way he bends his body as well, Salah, to get himself around that one is very typical most.
Welcome to our audio commentary coverage. This broadcast is not an
And now with Frimpong just outside the box, plays it out to the right hand side for Mo Salah. Puts it onto his left boot, curls it into the box. It's a good one, and Van Dijk jumps a little bit too soon. As well as he came across wanting the same header. It's Liverpool making the first chances of the Premier League season. 5 minutes gone, Liverpool 0, Bournemouth 0, live here on Flash Score. Reminder of the team news: 4 debutants for Liverpool. Alisson in goal, back four of Kirk.
Awkward for Semenyo, but it was a good ball, and that's what Kirkes is very pacey as long as Frimpong is, but they've got a lot of ground to make up, and Trevor there, very similar to Kirkes last season, getting high and wide, crosses in the box, and Semenyo, you think, right, that's an off. If that falls nicely for me, probably putting that in the back of the net and putting us 1-0 up early on. But you think you were right, 6.5 minutes into the game, and it's already living up to expectations. From a neutral point of view, what a start to the Premier League.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's certainly not a slow burner. Both sides are adopting an attack-minded approach. Bournemouth look to come forward again down the left-hand side. Shoulders wide open. Some decent defensive tracking to Alex Scott to play on that left-hand side. And Bournemouth have a throw-in deep inside Liverpool territory. Very lively start then to this game. Adrian Trevor, the cross in for the Semenyo chance for Bournemouth. Player that's been signed as a direct replacement for Kirkes, who's in the position starting 11 this evening.
Welcome to our
If I know it, I'm texting Don.
Well, you obviously got me frozen off the show for the last 3 weeks of the season.
Wasn't my call. Hey, it's because I'm. Hey, you know what, Mazza? I'm good friends with Fletch. It's who you know, and Katie. You got to take them out for dinner, mate. You don't do that. You're struggling.
I'm glad you said and Katie there, because she runs this.
I did.
towards the front post, and Evan Nielsen flicked it on. Szoboszlai, I think it was at the far post. Really important defending from a Liverpool point of view. Like Curry's ball forward is stuff that is trapped by Drew there, but that was a really good quick corner in from David Brooks. Good flick on from Evan Nielsen, and one of the three players in blue at that far stick up on the end of it then. Certainly would have been the first goal of the season.
I take Katie out for dinner all the time, little do you know. Unlucky.
Anymore, regardless. If that's the case, I think that's wrong because he's got a contract to honour. It kind of this feels that messy at the moment. The only way to solve it is
to
let him go and play somewhere else and then get a replacement in. feels that it's gone too far.
Yeah, I don't like the way he's done it. There's a lot of players that want to move on, and I don't know. He's getting badly advised for sure. Newcastle give him the opportunity to come and play in the Premier League, the best league in the world. And don't get me wrong, he's a top player and he's one of the best strikers around in world football. But he's playing for a team that are in the Champions League. The fans adore him. I get it. He wants to go to a club like Liverpool because Liverpool is a huge football club. So are Newcastle. But Liverpool this season, they could go and win everything. They could with the signings they've signed. So I get it. But I don't like the way he's gone about it, Fletch. I don't like it how he's... Listen, I only reading what everyone else is reading, where he's like obviously gone to his old club, Sociedad, maybe had an injury, but he's training there. Then he comes back and you hear that probably he's refusing maybe to play, but he's not going to play in the first game against Newcastle because he's hardly trained with the squad, but he's training alone and stuff. I just don't think it sits right with me. I just think Newcastle is a fantastic football club. Eddie Howe, it kind of leaves him in limbo at the moment. He ain't got a striker, he ain't got a fit out-and-out striker. They've lost Callum Wilson as well. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult for Newcastle. But, yeah, you're right. We don't know how to communicate, and we should communicate much better, Don. I mean, not Don. Fletch. I'm thinking of Don because I know Don's going to come in with something because I know he loves Newcastle, so I'm waiting for Don. I was throwing over to you, Don.
He's going to have to wait a second because we've got to update the game at Anfield. Lee.
It's taken 15 minutes for us to get the first bit of refereeing controversy of the new season. Liverpool 0, Bournemouth 0. Ball was played up towards Ekitike on the halfway line as Liverpool looked to come forwards on the counter, and Marcus Senesi reaches out, swipes the ball with his hand. He was the last defender, albeit very high up the pitch, Stephen Warnock. The question was asked of referee Anthony Taylor, but nothing was given whatsoever. But it was a definite handball as he swiped his hand towards it.
Yeah, see, I didn't think it was. I thought it was a ricochet off the thigh onto the arm. I thought it was a position that his arm was moving in naturally. So I know there was a lot of uproar around the ground, but I didn't really see it as being a handball, to be honest.
Bournemouth have had a couple of corners. They look dangerous, actually, Bournemouth, every time they get the ball in the wide areas at the moment. Liverpool have had the better of the chances. It's a great watch here at Anfield, it really is, but it's still Liverpool 0, Bournemouth 0 with 16.5 minutes on the clock.
OK, so 0-0 at Anfield. Don, would you like to read the score out and the scorer that you've just sent me on WhatsApp?
I would. There's been breaking news. There's been a goal at Finn Harps against Bray Wanderers, and
Young
Max
Hutchinson
has got the goal to make it 2-1.
Love it, Young Hutchinson. Go on.
Do you know what made me laugh last week? I was reading the timeline last week, and it was 6 minutes in, Hutchinson yellow card, and I was like, go on, son. Go on.
Like father, like son. I love that. Exactly. It always follows the tree, doesn't it? Don, just on this whole Isak Newcastle situation, I mean, we've kind of discussed it to death. The whys and wherefores of the Newcastle side, the Liverpool side, the Isak side. The bigger question for me is based on the fact they're going to play Villa tomorrow. What do they do at the top end of the pitch? I mean, I'm doing the game tomorrow, so the only striker they've got is Willa Sula, who's scored one goal in the Premier League in his life. They've then got a combination of potentially of Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy, Anthony Elanga, with the midfielders behind. What is Eddie Howe going to do in the short term to deal with no Alexander Isak because he's not playing tomorrow? The long term is kind of for another day. But they've got a game tomorrow and they've got to try and be as competitive as they can be at Villa Park.
And he's the one I feel sorry for, Eddie Howe. He's been left in a mess. He's trying to prepare his team in pre-season for this game against Villa. And his star strikers' behaviour's been discussed. And I think in the short term, he'll probably play Anthony Gordon as a number 9. Elanga off the right-hand side, Harvey Barnes potentially off the left. So he has got options in wide areas. It's just through the middle. I mean, he's played there before, Anthony Gordon, so he can play there. But it's Eddie Howe I feel sorry for. The Newcastle fans, believe me, Fletch, will drop Isak within 5 minutes. There's a reason why they sing Alan Shearer's name. There's a reason why they sing Andy Cole's name, who went to Man United. They still sing his name. They still sing Kevin Keegan's name. And the behaviour from Alexander Isak, and I think it's probably coming from his agent, and it stems from his agent, it's been disgusting. I mean, I've got no idea why Newcastle don't fine him 2 weeks' wages and give it to a local charity for breach of contract. If you're turning around and you're not training with your team and you are refusing to play for the club that are paying your wages, surely Newcastle are within their right to do him 2 weeks' wages for breach of contract and give that money to a local charity, give it to a kids' charity in the area. But it's Eddie Howe. The players are players. We're hard enough. The players at Newcastle will get on with it. They'll turn up and be professional. They'll be fine, the Newcastle players. Don't worry about that. They won't feel anything for Alexander Isak. It's Eddie Howe and his backroom staff I feel sorry for.
Have you seen any? I mean, there's a lot of strikers being linked with them, Glenn. If Isak goes, then they've got to go and get one in. Is there anybody standing out for you that you think, well, if Isak does go, Clinton's got one, but I'll let you go first, Glenn. If Isak does go and they get X, they'll be all right. Is there anybody on that list for you?
Well, I'll revert to the problem, and you said communication. Football's bad at communication, and I think if he'd sat down at the end of last season and said, I want to leave, and been really clear with the football club, we see so many strikers that have been linked with and not got. I think they'd have got one or two of those without any doubt. But who's going to join the football club when you've got Europe's or the world's best number 9 leading the line? So that's difficult. The one that I could see, so if this did end up that Alexander left and he joined Liverpool, the one that I could really see, and this is from me working under Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe being a coach, not just a manager, and making players in and around him better, is Jackson.
Yeah. Glenn, just hold that thought. Clinton, just hold yours. Let's just nip back to Anfield because we've reached the 20-minute mark, Lee.
Which means all Liverpool supporters and indeed all Bournemouth supporters as well have risen as one to pay yet another tribute to Diogo Jota. Many holding scarves and flags in the air, others applauding as well. The cop just looks absolutely incredible. It really does. And it's yet another moment, Stephen Warnock, tonight that just makes the hairs stand up on the back of your neck and brings a really emotional tear to the eye.
Yeah, I mean, Don spoke about it before. I mean, the way the Bournemouth fans have responded has been incredible as well. They're all on their feet, like you said, Lee, joining in. But it's just absolutely incredible to listen to, and just the way that the support that the family will be feeling right at this moment who are in the ground. I hope they understand how much that Diogo Jota was appreciated and loved as a player.
They've got it right here tonight, Darren. They really have. Still Liverpool 0, Bournemouth 0.
Absolutely. I would echo that. Lee Blakeman and Stephen Warnock at Anfield. Clinton, you were indicating that you've got a name that you.
Now there was one. I know he's getting a bit older, but he knows the Premier League, and I don't think they'll be able to do it because I don't think the club will let him go. But me personally, I think someone like a Watkins would be good for Newcastle. I think Watkins, the way Newcastle want to play, and you can see what Watkins can offer, and we know he can score goals in the Premier League. Newcastle need a player who can come and score. I'd get Watkins, and I'd go and get Visser as well. I think Visser would be a good one as well. And we know he wants to come to the football club, but he's down to Brentford. But they're the two players I'd probably look at if I'm Newcastle at the moment.
So it depends what you're playing, Fletch. It depends if you're playing fantasy football.
Yeah.
Because Watkins is the guy. 100% Watkins is the guy. But they wouldn't imagine, like Clinton said, they'll be able to get him out of Aston Villa. Vlahovic is on about 400 grand a week at Juve, so they're desperate to get Vlahovic off their wage bill. Samu's a young player at 21 at Porto who's got loads of potential. Jackson, I think, for £80 million is too much money. I think that's too much money for, that's an awful lot of money. £80 million. I mean, I'd rather lob another 20 on top of that and bid 100 plus for Lautaro Martinez if you're going to go fantasy football. Newcastle are in Champions League. They're in a great position. They should be in a position of strength. At the moment, they're in a position of weakness because everyone knows if Alexander Isak goes, they're going to need to pay an awful lot of money for a number 9 they want to bring in.
Yeah. Just bigger picture, is there an issue there at Newcastle in terms of signing players? Because they're just about to get Jacob Ramsey done. They've signed Malik Thiaw from
Milan.
AC Milan. They've got Anthony Elanga from Forest. But this is a football club that's had a lot of money for a while, and they seem to find transfers difficult to do. They've been in for a lot of players this summer, and a lot of those players, Glenn, have chosen to go somewhere else. What's stopping players buying into the dream at St James's Park? Because when you go there, if you're a success there, I mean, crikey, what a place that must be to play football, because you're the big star in a one-club town, and everybody has a vested interest in Newcastle, but they find it really difficult to persuade players to go and play for them.
Yeah, you've got to give context to that, Fletcher, and the majority of those that have turned the football club down have been 9s, and the reason behind that is that Alexander Isak's holding the number 9 shirt at the football club at the moment. I actually think if you kind of quieten the noise of Isak, I think they've done really steady, very positive business, Newcastle. Obviously there's a massive negative spin because Isak's refusing to play at the minute, but I think when you like zoom out of that one situation, the lads that you've mentioned, obviously it looks like Jacob Ramsey's going to join, Ramsdale, Elanga. I think it's been a really positive window for them.
But if they don't get a forward, all that goes to nothing.
Because they will get forward.
But they've got to get a forward of a certain standard. They're going to play in they can't have one. they've lost Callum Wilson too. They've only got Will Asula at the minute. They can't say to a centre forward, well, look, we're going to play in all these competitions and you're going to have to play every game, because if you don't, we haven't got a striker.
And
they need
I
I
think they'll get Visser. I think Visser is the one. It's going to be a knock-on effect of Atara from Bournemouth into Brentford, and then Visser will go up to Newcastle, and then one more, whether that's Jackson, whether that's Watkins. I mean, who knows?
But this is not a central one, is he? Really?
No, but I think we see him more and more in the Premier League. Like when we spoke about Ekitike, like how he can arrive on the left and Gakpo can be through the middle, or Salah can be through the middle, and it's interchangeable. Like if I look at Alanga, Gordon, Barnes, Visser, they can do that as well. So it's a very fluid front three.
I don't know.
And they're going to have to think outside the box as well. I mean, we're watching a player tonight, Evan Nielsen. He's a good number 9 in his own right. Very, very good. So there's players out there.
And you didn't hear... Don's right. And you've not heard of it. You didn't hear much about Evan Nielsen. Then he comes here and he does well in the Premier League. But if you're number 9, Fletch, you want to go to Newcastle Football Club. How can you not... You want to turn them down? Listen, I was surprised Šeško turned them down. I was surprised. Listen, I know Man United still got that pull and it's one of still the biggest clubs. But you want to be playing Champions League football. That's what Newcastle will be doing. I agree with Mazza. I think they're... Recruitment's been really good so far, I do think, and I think they can attract players. It's just a lot of other teams are going for the players. Ekitike, you go Newcastle, Liverpool, where he's obviously probably gone to Liverpool because they can win more stuff this season, but I still think Newcastle's a great attraction. Any number 9 would want to go to that football club. It's huge.
Yeah, Fletch, I think it's really unfortunate that it's been the window where Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool and Chelsea have all needed 9s as well, and unfortunately they're 4 bigger clubs than Newcastle.
You said that. Did you hear that? You get that clipped up, please.
I noticed he tried to put a southern accent on his voice when he said it, tried to get rid of that northeast.
If you spin it a different way, Fletch, if you spin it, and I think where Muzza's coming from, I think you spin it a different way. It's a compliment to Newcastle. That the big clubs, the very biggest of clubs, are all going in for the same players Newcastle are going in for. Newcastle are not trying to finish 10th. So they're not trying to find like a young 21-year-old or taking a chance on a player down in the Championship. They're trying to buy the elite number 9s. They're trying to buy the elite players. But with
do you know what it is,
comes with that is bigger teams.
You know what baffles me? It's so cloak and dagger now, transfers, that you kind of know whether a player's going to come before it even gets out, because they're all behind the scenes checking in. Would he come? What would he want? How's it going to work? I mean, it's the modern way of doing it. You'd call it tapping up, but everybody does it. It seems odd that they're quite publicly going for these players, but then all of a sudden just decide to go somewhere else. It's not happening to anybody but them, really. It's only Newcastle.
The Šeško one's a little bit unlucky, really, because Man United were really, really smart. Man United didn't get involved in bidding for Šeško before Newcastle. So Man United just sat back and had belief in the size of their club and the manager and what they're trying to do. They sat back and let Newcastle do all the work, trying to agree the fee and actually getting the number. And then right at the last second, they come in and agree personal terms with the player. So they were really smart and they were really clever. I go back about a month, Fletch, and I'm not kidding here. Before the Alexander Isak news broke, I genuinely thought Newcastle could break top 3. I think they could challenge Man City because Isak was obviously at the football club and no rumours of him going. They put the record bid in for Ekitike, and I'm thinking, my word, Ekitike and Isak is 2 number 9s with Anthony Gordon and Alanga and Harvey Barnes and a brilliant midfield 3. They could seriously challenge. Fast forward a couple of weeks, Liverpool have took Ekitike and Liverpool are trying to take Alexander Isak. It's a nightmare.
Absolutely. 0-0 at Anfield, 28 minutes gone. And we're going to whiz around. Let me just say this before we do. Aston Villa unbeaten in the last 21 home games in all competitions, winning the last 8 in a row. It's their longest run without defeat at Villa Park since a run of 24 between September 76 and May 77. I think I'm right in saying it's the second longest streak in the top 5 European leagues, and it's not been a great place for Newcastle to go either. Only Arsenal won there in the Premier League last season. That was Aston Villa's very first game at home in the Premier League, and Crystal Palace the last team to win there. That was in a League Cup tie a couple of months after that. Let's quickly update the game at Anfield. The referee's come across. Is it a drinks break, Lee, or has something else gone on?
We're all looking at each other up here, Darren, at the top of the main stand. We're not quite sure why the referee stopped the game, but he's just come over, Anthony Taylor, to this near side, pulled both managers together, Andoni Iraola and Arne Slot, and then both players, or both sets of players, have come to this near side to just take a drink. When the game resumes, it will be with a Liverpool corner, Steve Stephen Warnock. A lot of confusion around the ground at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's something more going on here. I think there's been something shouted at a player, and someone of the players has reported something because he's spoke to Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor's come across not only to the two managers, but he's also come across to the stewards as well. And I think there's going to be something, whether something else has happened, I'm not too sure, but they're pointing towards the supporters.
We'll bring you more news, Darren, as soon as we get it, but the fourth official's been involved in these conversations as well. It's Liverpool 0, Bournemouth 0, game halted temporarily.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Let's rejoin Gavin Wallace and get the latest on his game.
Yeah, Celtic still up 1-0 at the moment. Fletch, we're only a couple of minutes away from half-time. Dyson made his diving header. I mean, Celtic's start to their defence is doing not too bad for this competition, although Calvin Miller had a great chance a minute after. He put it just one final, so it was a good save from Sinisalo, and Ross McIver a minute ago forced another good save. We get 2 minutes to go to half-time as the fourth official board went up. Celtic 1, Falkirk 0.
The 100 is on Sports Extra tonight. Full commentary, Northern Superchargers, Birmingham Phoenix, Ed Seaborn.
Well, the Northern Superchargers are looking favourites to sweep both halves of this double-header and make it 3 wins out of 4 in the men's 100. 135 required off 60 balls by the Birmingham Phoenix, but Jacob Bethel, who is potentially set to be the youngest England captain in international cricket, has just smashed a 6 over mid-wicket. Liam Livingstone almost clearing the Howard stand as he did in an international 4 years ago, but it does look as though the Superchargers are on course still. 129 required from 59 by the Phoenix. Commentary continues on Sports Extra.
Sports Extra 2 for the Rugby League, and I've got to issue my first public apology of the season. There are quite a few during the course of the campaign. The first one is to Matt Newsom, because Matt, about 2 hours ago, Katie said there's been a try in the Rugby League and I keep forgetting. Please tell us about it, and I apologise.
I will now, keep it short for you, Fletch. Yeah, it's OKR who've taken the lead in this one. It's been as aggressive and as brutal as you might have imagined. Dean Hadley went over for OKR, took a great pass from Martin Morg right into the rib cage, right into the line and beyond to score. And that's the only points we've got so far. There have been so many shots flying about. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch, but just the 6 points in it. Wigan 0, OKR 6.
Thanks, Matt, and apologies again. Katie said ages ago there's a try in the Rugby League and I keep waffling on. I forgot all about it, so I do apologise. Arsenal then, fellas, simple question. Glenn Murray, has he got to win a trophy this season, Mikel Arteta, of some description?
Yes.
And will he win a trophy of some description?
No.
That's my popular answer to both questions.
You got a crystal ball there,
What, you don't think you'll win
I was expecting to ask all three of us, but that was just my opinion.
Well, I was going to get around. I thought you'd be the bravest, Glenn, so I started with you.
Yeah, well, no, I just think like the pressure's on him because Palace have won something, Tottenham have won something, Chelsea have won something. Like they're one of the only clubs in London not to have won something in recent years, and he's had 5 years there. He's spent a hell of a lot of money. He's assembled the squad that he wants. He's been there for what? 10 transfer windows, 10 transfer windows, and only in this last one that he's signed a 9. I mean, everyone seems to have been able to see that they've needed that has been the piece of the jigsaw that's been missing for the last 3 or 4 windows, yet he's failed to decide to go and get one. Even when Sterling became available, they jumped really quickly and they were happy to pay his wages immediately. So I feel as though as far as Premier League managers are concerned and as far as timing the job's concerned, Arsenal have been really fair to him. Without doubt, Arsenal in a much better position than when he took over, but this is the year that he needs to bring silverware to the Emirates.
You see, my opinion on this, Clinton, when I look at it, is that I think they've had a decent transfer window. We'll talk about Victor Gyökeres in a minute. I'm not that convinced that he's a certainty to score goals. He scored goals at Coventry, goals at Sporting Lisbon, but he's not done it at this level. And if they're going to sign a centre forward, it needs to be a centre forward who gets the winning goal in a big game, not a Lukaku situation where the stats at the end of the season are good, but then you look at the teams he scored the goals against, it's not really helped them a great deal. I fear that might be the Gyökeres pattern, but when I look at it, they've had a good window. Zubimendi and the players they've brought in, Gyökeres is going to, Madueke's got Patel. I can see why they've done what they've done. But it still feels to me that they were a long way behind Liverpool last season, and Liverpool's transfer window is better than theirs. So the gap to me feels wider in Premier League terms than it was at the end of last season.
I agree with you. It's the Gyökeres one, it's an interesting one. Obviously, he scored all his goals at Sporting Lisbon. It's a different league to the Premier League. The one thing he will do he'll get chances at Arsenal with the likes of Odegaard and Saka on that right-hand side. I do feel, you look at Martinelli, and obviously there was loads of talk of Arsenal interested in someone like an Eze, but that looks like it's gone quiet. I think he would have been a fantastic signing for them. But you're right, they have signed Madueke. Norgard's a good signing, very good signing. It won't be a regular, obviously, but he's a really good signing if they get injuries into that midfield. They will be challenging, Fletch, but I just don't. You're right. I think Liverpool's, if you look at the signings Liverpool have done, I think they'll be more effective. But the big question is the Gyökeres one. He's the one who you're thinking, Victor Gyökeres, can he go and get you the 15 to 20 goals or even beyond that? That's going to make you win the title. But I've said it, and I've said it all along. I make Liverpool favourites, but I do think they have a chance of winning the trophy, though, like a FA Cup or maybe a Carabao Cup. I do think he needs to bring them a trophy, but I think they need to win the Premier League. Arsenal fans, they won't accept that. Neither would a hierarchy, because they backed him this season.
Don, before you come in, I'm going to quote another one of our erstwhile trio tonight, Glenn Murray. Now, this is on the BBC Sport website, and Glenn said, I don't think Gyökeres is the one. It's such a big step. I was with him at Brighton, and I never had him down to be a £64 million striker. When Ben White stepped into our first team, right away, everyone knew how good he was. He was of that standard. When Victor came in, it was more a case where you thought he was all right. I'm not sure he suits Arsenal's style either. I've got to say, Glenn, I'm a lot nearer to your sentiments there than I am that he's going to be a rip-roaring success.
How old was he, Glenn?
30 goals and nick the golden boot.
How old was he, Glenn?
He was just a baby. He'd have been 18, 19. I'm gonna guess. I might be wrong, but listen, like, so was Ben White, and when Ben White stepped in, you kind of knew. Like, I was directly up against Ben, and I was like, wow, this kid is extremely good.
Before Don answers, just Muzzer, keep your phone on every weekend after Arsenal play and he scores, because I will.
Listen, before you do that, let's get to Anfield. I think this fella's going to be one of the stars of the season, Lee.
Hugo Ekitike scores on his Premier League debut at Anfield. Liverpool 1, Bournemouth 0. It was a goal all of his own making, really, because it looked like it had got away from him initially, but he just bundled his way through the centre of the Bournemouth defence, kept his composure and slotted it past Petrovic, who's been excellent so far. He salutes the Liverpool supporters. He scores the first goal of the 25-26 Premier League season. Liverpool 1, Bournemouth 0. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, he drops off nice and deep, Ekitike. He doesn't play as the number 9, a conventional. Wirtz is in that position, and then he just links up with McAllister. McAllister slips it into him. He is a little bit fortuitous the way it goes through to him. It ricochets off his shins into his path, but there's nothing fortuitous about what happens next. He's calm, he's composed, he sits Petrovic down, and he just passes it into that bottom right-hand corner. Brilliant finish.
A little bit of luck as it came off Senesi, but he kept his composure. Calm finish. Scored at Wembley last week, scores at Anfield this week, and with 8 minutes to go until half-time, it's Liverpool 1, Bournemouth 0.
Stephen, that's the impressive thing for me, how he slows everything down. Once the ball ricochets back to him, it's easy to see a striker snatch at that, but then everything slows down and he just passes the ball into the back of the net.
Yeah, and that's what great strikers do, and that's, I think the big thing about this guy is he's very raw, but straight away he's impressed me and how calm he is in forward areas. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't ask Clinton about that, slowing down in the opposition box and finding composure, Fletch.
He slows down when the treble's on. He's going to come in now, you know that.
Hey, Woody, that's a low blow. I'll take that, though.
He's nearly just scored again, by the way. There's a lovely ball from Kerkez into the back post, and he's rising at the back post on the 6-yard box and just pushes it over the bar. Yeah, he's looking very impressive. I know it's early doors, but he looks the part.
Brilliant, thank you, fellas. So 1-0 Liverpool. Hugo Ekitike, whose name, by the way, is a palindrome, Dom.
I heard you say that.
Which means it's the same backwards and forwards, as was Eze on the day we missed that one. Eh?
Yeah, one more in the Premier League, Eze.
I think it's just on Glenn's point there when he was judging Gyökeres at 18. I mean, I think you're being a tad harsh. I mean, show me any player, even the likes of Mo Salah. We're watching some players like Virgil van Dijk at 18. You might have saw a bit of talent there, but you've got no idea if they're going to go at the very top or not. So judging a player now at 18, Glenn, which you can only judge because that's when you saw him, I feel a tad harsh, mate.
Well, I mean, I was asked what it was like when he stepped into training, so I can only give that opinion. and he was always playing off the left. What I will say, he's strong, he's robust. I think he'll have no problems physicality-wise in the Premier League. And I hope he's a success, but I'm just not sure that he'll suit Arsenal. He's always going to stretch the play. He scored a lot of goals, which, listen, you can only score at the level you're playing at, and he's absolutely smashed the Portuguese league out of the water, and he's scored goals in Europe as well. But this is a different level, Donna. I know it is. There's a lot of pressure on the young man going into Arsenal. This is a number 9 that they've been looking for 4 years, or people have wanted for 4 years.
Glenn, you're also asking him to score.
Like
One sec, Don. You're also asking him, Glenn, to score a certain type of goal for Arsenal that they don't have. Which is,
do you know what? Do you know what, Fletch? When you read that out, I think I was a little bit misquoted at the beginning, to be honest. Can you read it out again, please?
I don't think Gyökeres is the one. It's such a big step.
Yeah,
I was looking at Brighton.
I
never had him down as a sixth.
I don't think I said I don't think he's the one. I mean, I do worry for him in Arsenal shirt. I'm not sure he's going to be the answer, and I hope he is, but I was misquoted on that.
I love him.
Mozart is well and truly in reverse at this point. It's 8:41 on the opening night of the season.
Not at all.
I love you, mate. I love you.
Fletch, it feels like I'm on the black couch talking a Harry Redknapp story again. But this is a gospel. This one. We were at Chadwell Heath, and I was training with John Moncur. And me and John Moncur were both injured, getting treatment at the time. And Frank Lampard was coming through. And Frank was about sort of 16, just getting close to 17. And he come in, Harry, and he come into the treatment room, and he was like big, massive beam and smile on his face because he just took the session. And he come in to see how we were, and he said to me and John Moncur, he went, "Get your money on him to play for England." And we went, "Who?" And he went, "Young Frank, he'll play for England." And with that, he shut the door, Harry, and me and John Moncur looked at each other and shook our heads and went, we didn't say no chance, but we went, because like you're judging babies at like 16, 17. It was like, of course he was going to do it. How good was he? He was amazing. But it's difficult. Fergie always said it. It's difficult. He almost felt as though, his biggest arguments, Fergie at Man United, was having a discussion with his under-21 coach, letting players go because they've not physically developed.
No, Don, let me ask you this.
Go on.
I just want to ask you both. I mean, Glenn's there. That's Glenn's opinion. Glenn's actually trained with him, so Glenn's got a hell of a lot more insight into this than we have, because he's been with him. So no matter what the age, you can get ideas. So I understand where Glenn's coming from.
Can I just say where it's going to be very interesting is Victor Gyökeres. Arsenal are going to have to change their style because he's a good player when he comes short and he can link the play. He's not Isak, he's not Ekitike, he's not one of them. So he relies like a little bit like Erling Haaland. He wants these balls played down the side. So I think watching Arsenal in pre-season, and I think Mikel Arteta said the same thing, the transition in our style is going to be getting the ball up to Gyökeres a lot quicker.
This is the point that I was going to ask you and Clinton. He's got to do a certain job for that team. And when I've seen him play for Sporting Lisbon and Coventry, Clinton, it didn't look like he was tailor-made for that role. I know he scored a load of goals at Sporting Lisbon and scored a load of goals at Coventry. But Arsenal need their central striker to do a specific job.
Yeah.
They've got players that score goals from wide positions, and they've got players that come from deep and score goals. They've got your Kai Havertz and people like that. What they've not got is someone that stands around the 6-yard box and when it's tight somehow manages to nick him a goal from somewhere. That's what they're lacking. This is this number 9 who can play with his back to play and do all that number 9 stuff. But when I watched Gyökeres, that didn't look like the skill set that he's going to bring to this team. I'm not necessarily sure it's a knock on him.
No.
It's the fit. It's him for the fit based on what they need him to do. That would be my concern.
You're spot on, Fletch, but that's most number 9s, I think, nowadays. I do think most number 9s want to get involved in the play. And what it is with Arsenal, when a lot of teams play against Arsenal, the teams just defend. So there's no space, and I 100% hear what Maz is saying with Gyökeres. And he don't look the most natural. When I seen him at Coventry as well, he'll like pick up the ball from the halfway line, run at everyone, and get his shot away. But you're right, they do need like a poacher. So they do need someone in and around the 6-yard box. You know, I look at it and a striker who's like that, and he's one of the best around, is a Haaland. He don't care about not getting involved in the game. What he wants to do is stay in the 6-yard box, get crosses in, and poach. And that's the type of striker Arsenal need. But we can't judge him until we've seen him more. More. But I understand where
exactly what they need.
Clinton,
you know better than anyone. You guys know better than anyone.
Yeah.
That might be exactly what they need: an 18-yard box, 6-yard box striker.
Yeah, you're right.
Don, you've both said you kind of said tonight, and you quoted Mikel Arteta. The biggest transition for us now is to getting the ball in areas where he needs to have the ball. When Erling Haaland went to Manchester City, he had to conform to the way they played. He played balls in behind for fun at Borussia Dortmund, but Pep Guardiola's not going to do that. So Erling Haaland then became the player that Manchester City needed. Does Gyökeres not have to become the player that Arsenal needs,
100%.
as opposed to Arsenal working around him?
Oh, 100%, mate. But what did he hit? 52 goals, Haaland, I think, in his first season.
Yeah.
So listen, you're going to get goals, therefore, by the position that you play in. Centre forwards are always going to be close to the 18-yard box and closer to goal than anyone else. So if he can prove, like Ekitike's shown tonight, where Darwin Núñez probably wouldn't have finished that tonight. He'd have been too erratic in front of goal. He would have got excited. He probably would have blasted it off the goalkeeper. If he can prove Gyökeres that he's deadly in front of goal, you don't have to be the most dynamic mover. Robbie Fowler was never the most dynamic mover, nor was Kevin Phillips, but they were hitting 30 goals a season. So if he can be the man, and Arsenal can transition their style, and Zubamendi's a player that likes to play forward passes a lot quicker. The hard bit, as Clinton's mentioned there, when a lot of teams are playing away from home at the Emirates against Arsenal and they bank in and they've got loads of players behind the ball, how good's his touch? How good's his movement? Because that's what takes away from Haaland's game. When he's got to come short 30, 40 yards away from goal, that's going to be the interesting watch.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of those goals that Clinton referenced, where he picks the ball up around the halfway line or and he just runs, and he's just better than the big player that he's up against, and he scored. Worked in the Championship, works in Portugal. It's going to be a different kettle of fish trying to do that in the Premier League against the best defenders in the world. So I think that's going to be his challenge. If he can do that, then he's going to win Player of the Year. So, and by the way, if Arsenal had Robbie Fowler, I'd make them clear title favourites this season to win it. Because I think if you stuck Robbie Fowler in this Arsenal team, they'd win it.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know whether Victor Gyökeres is going to be Robbie Fowler. I think that might be.
No, but if they can supply him with enough chances, you're never going to be as good as Robbie Fowler. But what you can do is you might hit 20 goals. I could see Ekitike, who we're watching tonight, right? I guarantee you, he probably won't hit more than 20 league goals a season. But his link-up play is going to get Mo Salah more goals. He's going to get Szoboszlai more goals from McAllister, more for Gakpo. So there can be that sort of knock-on Moneyball effect where you can affect the players around you.
And that's not been him either, has it? That's not been Gyökeres. He's not been that kind of. If you're going to compare the two skill sets, you wouldn't compare Gyökeres and Ekitike. They're a mile apart.
No. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Glenn, just on the game this weekend, I mean, it on paper it's the game of the weekend. It doesn't always turn out that way, but it'll do for us in terms of looking at it through those eyes. It feels like a big one for both of them. If Manchester United want to be better, you don't want to lose at home on the opening weekend against anybody. And if Arsenal want to win the league this year, these are the kind of results where they've got to go away from home and they've got to find a way to win. It looks like a really good marker, and it will give us a lot of information on the pair of them after this game on Sunday.
Well, I think whoever wins it, if someone does win it, it sends a message out to the rest of the Premier League, doesn't it? Good or bad, I mean, either way kind of thing. I mean, Manchester United, I think there's a newfound belief, but I do think that against the top opposition, there will be that defensive fragility as well.
How do you see it, Dom, when you look at the game?
Goals.
I'm fascinated by it.
Goals. And it depends on what happens at Anfield tonight. If Liverpool win tonight, which you expect them to do, being 1-0 up, then it puts the pressure on Arsenal. You know, Man United being at home, there's pressure there anyway, and they can't afford for a team like Arsenal to go there and romp them 3, 4 or 5, because that wouldn't be a good look. So I expect loads of goals. I expect a really wide open game. I don't think, Arsenal might dominate the ball that little bit more, but United at home, I expect them to be, full of confidence as you can be on the first day of the season. And what you want on the first day of the season, you want an Arsenal at home. The adrenaline will be flowing. The manager won't have to deliver a team talk because the players should be bang up for it. So it screams to me like it's a game that's going to be wide open and full of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Half-time whistle's gone at Anfield. Liverpool leading at half-time, Lee Blakeman.
Great game, end to end, brilliant entertainment. But the headline, Darren, is that Hugo Ekitike has 2-2 for Liverpool. He scored on his Premier League debut tonight to give them a 1-0 lead here over Bournemouth. Played through the middle, played the ball against Senesi. Little bit of luck because it came back to him. He kept his composure, Ekitike, and slotted it calmly past Georgi Petrovic. Really cool finish. Salah had gone close earlier in the half. Curler from the edge of the area, cutting in from the right on his left foot. He went for the far top corner. Good save by the keeper that time. Bournemouth have made a game of this though. Strong tackles, decent in the wide areas, few corners as well. But it's Liverpool, Stephen Warnock, who've edged it to lead at half-time.
Yeah, Liverpool started the game extremely well, and we thought they'd blow Bournemouth out the water, but Bournemouth stood strong, started to create their own opportunities. Semenyo had a fantastic opportunity to put Bournemouth 1-0 ahead, but as you say, that Ekitike moment, just that calmness in front of goal has been able to put Liverpool ahead at half-time. But this isn't over. Bournemouth are still creating chances on the counter-attack.
I was going to say, some hope for Bournemouth. Darren mentioned Virgil van Dijk earlier. He's not the only one who's looked a little bit shaky at times tonight. Kanate and Kirkes too have had some scary moments.
Yeah, Kirkes has picked up a booking. He's been a little bit rash in his challenges. I think he's still young as well, and obviously understanding the pressures that come at playing for Liverpool and a big money signing. But the one that I've noticed that is struggling not a bit, but I'm just thinking he needs to get up to the speed of the play and the physicality is Wirtz. He's the one that you're looking at thinking just needs to be aware of players coming off his shoulder and nicking the ball off him. The game's a lot quicker than it is in the Bundesliga.
There's one to debate, Darren. Since the show's on until 10, we're all saying Wirtz.
Well,
the official
that's it.
pronunciation is Wirtz, we've been told by the club.
You read my mind. Well, we were told at the weekend for the Community Shield that the Anglophile version would be Wirtz, and in Germany they call him Wirtz. So,
yeah, I spoke to
English, or is it Stephen English or German? Well, this is the big question.
So
tonight.
when I was doing the Preston game, when he was missing, I said to the guys, the Liverpool press officers, I said, "Where's Wirtz?" And he said, "Well, firstly, it's Wirtz, and that's what it is." So I was like, "Okay, that's what we call him."
Wirtz. There you go, you see, setting the trend, Stephen Warnock tonight. Wirtz.
Absolutely. Well, what
are you
Wirtz,
Lee?
Hey, I'd wear a suit though. I wouldn't be a trendsetter like Clinton.
Your line's going funny, Warnock. See you later. We gotta go.
Thank you, fellas. So Liverpool 1 up at half-time. Wirtz is struggling, but Ekitike isn't. He's got the only goal tonight. Half-time in the Rugby League as well. I've not missed this, Matt. Half-time, I'm there.
Yeah, the hooter is about to sound. Yeah, 8-0 it is to Hull KR. It's been Wirtz here, fierce in between these two teams. Hull KR are on top at the moment. Try from Dean Hadley. Looked like they might get another. The video referee deemed that it wasn't a penalty try, but Liam Farrell was sin-bin. They took the 2 instead. So at half-time, it's Wigan 0, Hull KR 8.
Matt, thank you. Time to bring another guest onto the programme. Great to speak to Rio Ferdinand earlier on tonight about Manchester United. Let's bring in my old mate, Robbie Savage, who now has made the switch from Macclesfield to Forest Green. The season's underway. We thought we'd get him on for an natter to find out how it's going and to get his view on the Premier League as well. Robbie, welcome to the programme. How are you, mate?
How are you, Flesh? How are you guys? All okay?
We're very, very good. Clinton's here, Rob, just in case Clinton's here.
Here he is. I know you've had Rio on, so I'm the second biggest hitter on tonight.
Here we go. Hey, Fletch, that's why you can't get this guy on, you know what I'm saying?
Fantastic. Hey, first and foremost, how's it going?
Do you know what, Fletch? It's unbelievable. You know, Dale, the owner, Asif, the CEO, and Mark Bowen, they've made me feel so welcome. We've recruited really well, 14 new players. The owner, Dale's backed me. The training ground's unbelievable. The new stadium on the horizon. Being back on the grass as a full-time, my first full-time job in management. The players have embraced myself and John McMahon. And do you know what, maybe we had a 2-2 draw at the weekend. We were 2-1 up against 10. But as the guys know, sometimes it's harder to play against 10 when they just do a low block. The stats were outrageous, but inevitably we got a point. So I was disappointed with a point, but good win in midweek in the National League Cup against West Brom, and a big game against Yeovil tomorrow. But it's going great, mate.
Hey, Sav, there's a good young player in Ireland, you know. Max Hutchison scored tonight.
I believe so. Yeah, Max
scored tonight.
To be fair, Fletch, my phone's not stopped from pundits I know who have got sons in the game, you can imagine.
How's the job up, Sav?
I've not called you yet, Rob.
How's the level?
It's brilliant. Listen, I think non-league football now, Don, as we all know, we're at National League level, but there's no difference between National League and League Two for me. You see how well teams do from the National League when they get promoted. You look at Chesterfield, you look at Wrexham, you look at Stockport. We've got a tremendous owner who backs the club. His passion's there for all to see, and he wants to take Forest Green into the Championship. He really does. The new stadium will be probably 2 years away. The training ground is probably one of the best below the Championship now. The pitches are incredible, and one of the reasons why I went, Don, was because of the people. There were some fantastic people at Macclesfield, Rob, and the staff behind the scenes. And I've got to say, at Forest Green, it's exactly the same. They're brilliant people.
Robbie, must be a bit of pressure. They'll want to return right away, won't they?
No, the owner's been quite clear, Don. Glenn. Been quite clear. We have to change the culture. They've had 2 relegations, and they didn't go up last year. So 3 seasons. They expected to go up last year. They didn't. They finished 3rd, lost in the playoff semi-final. There was 2 relegations previously. So he wanted a reset. He wanted to bring a young, dynamic squad in, play attractive, attacking, entertaining football. Financially, I'll put the club in a better position. So again, he's been magnificent. He cares about the football club. He's honestly, I'm not just saying this, but I knew Dale from the time when Charlie was there. When we were on BT, as it was at the time, when he scored his first senior goal against Bristol Rovers, I think it was, and I had a great relationship with him. Mark Bowen's doing an unbelievable job also. But the initiatives they do, Dale's done the football, prescription football, which is an amazing initiative where people struggling can get tickets at their local GP, to help with their mental health and depression. So again, the initiatives that Dale does is fantastic for the football club, and hopefully that can be spread out across the country. But listen, there's always pressure, Glenn. There's always pressure. Listen, it's Forest Green Rovers, one of the biggest clubs in the National League, and there's some huge football clubs. We're playing one tomorrow. But again, if we can create a brand of football which is exciting, dynamic, and have a go at teams, I want us to go up. Of course I do. But the expectation is we've got to finish the playoffs with the squad we've built, to be fair. And there'll be no excuses. We've all been players, and 14 new players coming in through the door. People say that we need time to gel, but no, they're ready. They're good players, they're ready. So I'm not going to make excuses, if we get beat or when we get beat, 'cause we'll lose games. But I honestly feel that this squad now have got the capability to win the league. I really do.
Fantastic. Looking bigger picture, Rob, we're obviously going through the Premier League and what it's going to look like tonight. We're going to get the fellas' predictions a little bit later on. Seems to be a general consensus the top 4 in whatever order is going to be Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal and Chelsea. Would you go along with that? Can you see anybody sneaking in apart from those 4?
Yeah, I'm the same. I've gone Liverpool, I've gone Chelsea 2nd, Arsenal 3rd and City 4th. That's, I thought they look really, really strong. And, one thing, they've all got now is a terrific centre forward. Gyökeres at Arsenal, João Pedro, Chelsea. I think he's a terrific player. Ekitike, I think will win the Golden Boot. And Haaland. So again, as Clinton knows, you're only as good as your strikers. That's what Steve Bruce used to say to us. Unfortunately, we had Clinton.
And unfortunately, I had to chase his first touch.
Yes, Robbie, yes. Come back anytime.
Hey, mother likes that. Sam, don't do that. Don't do that, Sam, because I've got your back all the time. Don't do that. You know what, Fletch? I was just about to praise him.
These two, Fletch.
No, you know what he's done? I was just about to praise him about the job he's done as a manager, but I'm not praising him no more. You know what? We were the class clowns at Birmingham, Fletch, me and Sam, and we're still the class clowns now. But I wish him well. But yeah, anyway, let's move. You can carry on asking now, Fletch. I'm going to go quiet for 5 minutes. He silenced me.
I can't imagine you pair in the same dressing room.
Oh,
no, I can't imagine.
No. It was ruthless.
But listen, Glenn,
did you two ever come close to blows?
Let's move. Come on. That's not for now. That's not for live.
Come on.
we just wound everyone else up.
Great. Listen, he was great, Glenn, and you know me in a dressing room when I was at Brighton. Listen, the hardest thing about management, it's a brilliant it's a brilliant thing being a manager of a group. You know, you have to try and have a personality. You try and get the best out of players. And one thing you two know, sharing the dressing with me, that I'll do that. I'll get the best out of players. You know, young players. We had a boy, Thomas Conte, the night making his debut, scored on his league debut. And that's what football's about. You know, getting the best out of these young talents, getting the best out of seniors. You know, how do you create a new culture, which we're doing at Forest Green? So again, I love, you know, turning up to work every single day. It's not work, it's still a hobby, you know, but inspiring people, you know, getting people the best out of people. You know, I've done it with Fletch for a long time on Fletch and Sav. So again, it's...
and he's on one today, Fletch. I don't know why you got him on there.
If he only had a little bit of confidence.
But listen, do you know what, though? Do you know what, guys? It's honestly... What you need, and as Dawn, as you know, as the lads will know, you need an opportunity, and I've got an amazing opportunity now, a wonderful football club with a chance. You know, you need to be backed, and I've certainly been that, and it's, you know, I could have gone higher, you know, in terms of leagues, because I've spoke to you, Fletch, and Fletch has been a sounding board for me, because I ring people who I know and I trust, and, you know, I've had a conversation with you, Fletch, over the summer, and I had an opportunity last year, but I didn't feel it was right. This felt right. You know, I've got a great owner, great people, Mark and Asif, you know, great staff, great people around the club, and I've got a chance. I've got a chance to progress, you know, this football club at divisions, and that's what you need as a young manager. You need an opportunity, and hopefully I can repay them with my staff. But there's some amazing people there. And you know, big game tomorrow. Mark Cooper, who got promotion with Forest Green through the playoffs against Tranmere. I think he was there 5 years, manager of Yeovil. So he's coming tomorrow. We'll have a big crowd. Hopefully the fans can come through the door to watch this exciting brand of football. But I'm going to embrace it. And listen, I'm not scared of failure, guys. You know me, I'm not scared of failure. You know what I've taken an opportunity, and you know, I believe I can do it. I believe we can do it. And if I don't, do you know what? I'll give it my best shot. And that's what I do.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Mate, brilliant to talk to you tonight. We're going to check in with you during the course of the season to see how it's going. But it's been brilliant having you on tonight. Wish you well tomorrow, pal.
Thanks, well done, guys. Great to speak to you all, guys.
Cheers, Sav. Good luck.
Thank you, Sav. That's Robbie Savage, the Forest Green manager. They've got Yeovil tomorrow. Former teammate of Clinton, former teammate of Glenn. Don managed to avoid it. There's been a goal.
I know, Fletcher, you have to quickly go. Yeah, Don, he didn't want any trouble with me. That's why I didn't want to embarrass him on the radio.
Goal at Celtic, Gavin Wallace.
Is it okay if I talk? Clinton Morrison's not going to get me into trouble or anything here, is it? Clinton, are you okay with that, yeah?
Yeah, I'm okay. No worries.
That's all right. I should say, by the way, Robbie Savage, a former teammate of 606 now, and we wish him all the very best. Right, Celtic are up 2-0. Alistair Johnston picked it up. It was a throw-in on the far side. Falkirk just started diving in. Don't know why. He then got himself into the box, opened his body up beautifully and put it in the bottom far corner beyond Scott Bain. Celtic 2, Falkirk 0, gents.
Gav, let me just tell you, he's still doing Sunday 606. He's not gone. He's still with us.
Yes. I thought I phoned my agent. I thought I was within a shout there.
I thought you knew something we didn't at that point.
No, I just assumed. But no. Oh well, I'll go and put my addition tape back in its box for another season.
Top man, that's Gavin Wallace watching Celtic against Falkirk. Have we got time to do the treble before the news? Are we going to do the treble? Yeah, we will. Let's do the second clue of the treble.
The treble on 5 Live Sports.
The only problem is I've completely lost it on my script. So I presume we're going to do clue 1. Let's do clue 1 again before we get to clue 2.
Is huge for them. His ability to play in a 4-3-3 or to play in a 2 has been so impactful over the last 4 or 5 seasons. So, again, a huge loss.
So that's Mark Warburton. Does anybody have any idea who this player is for 3 points?
I've got no idea, but I'm just going to throw a name. Ezra.
No.
Champion's
looking pensive.
I have an idea, but I'll just wait to the second clue.
Okay, we'll let Glenn.
No, go on. I'll let it rumble on.
Okay, let's have clue 2 then.
Yannock strokes it back to the Danish international. Norgard early ball up towards him. So much better here from Brentford, attacking the Crystal Palace penalty area, left hand side of the box. Cuts inside and scores. And Totti against the run of play. Brentford lead Crystal Palace by a goal to 0.
I knew it was him, you know. I should have said
it. That's Jonathan Pearce on the commentary. Clinton said the bag out easy, so he's now regretting not having a dart. So, listen, this is where it gets a bit strange. Who's got it as well, Katie? Glenn's got it as well, I think.
Think about it, Don. Think about it,
Don's
Don.
not so sure.
And Buemo?
Yep.
So Don gets 2 points then, does he, to start the season?
Hold on, he
There's
didn't even
fireworks behind Glenn. What's happening there? There's fireworks going off behind Muzzer on the screen.
Because he's giving
is that right, is it? Oh, you've not got it on yours.
Oh, what's happening there? Do it again,
I thought Glenn was invested in pyrotechnics for a Friday. So Brian and Bournemouth is the answer. There we go. Look, he's on fire, Glenn. Literally. So we're going to let Katie work out who gets points. I know that Don Hutchison gets 2. I think everybody gets 2. Everybody gets 2. And Michael Brown gets 3 because he texted in before Glenn said it. Right.
Wow.
No, I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. News time on 5 Live. Nick Atfield.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Darren. Good evening. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have shook hands as their summit in Alaska gets underway. The two leaders are due to discuss how to end the war with Ukraine. Our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg. For some far-right protesters to have their throats cut has been clear.
Wow, but I'm going to go to Lee Blakeman first because I think we've got some information, Lee, as to why the game was stopped at Anfield when we came to you in the first half. In fact, tell us about the goal first. They've just scored again.
Yeah, Liverpool are 2-0 up. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 0. All about Cody Gakpo peeling in from the left on his right foot, beat a couple of players and slotted it coolly into Georgi Petrovic's bottom left-hand corner. The perfect start to the second half for Liverpool. Stephen Warnock. They lead Bournemouth by 2-0. All about Gakpo.
Well, it is, but there's also a role for Ekitike as well. Don Hutchison talked about it before. He will make others goals, and he does that with great link-up play. A simple layoff into Gakpo's path, and then Gakpo does the rest, sits the defender down, and then quite similar to Ekitike, just passes it into that bottom right-hand corner. Liverpool 2-0.
Yeah, it's what we were saying about Ekitike in the first half. Calm, cool and collected in front of goal. Brilliant finish. An update on why the game was stopped just before the half-hour mark. The Premier League have confirmed that Antoine Semenyo reported being racially abused by somebody in the crowd. That is why the referee stopped the game just before the half-hour mark. There's more on it right now on the BBC Sport website and app. But that's the latest on that. The latest score is Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you, Lee. Absolutely disgraceful at Anfield tonight. The Premier League season underway, and unfortunately Lee Blakeman has to bring us that information. There's been another goal at Celtic. Gavin, they're flowing in for you.
Yeah, there's been two actually. It's just been an own goal. I think I'm just trying to see who it is. Going through. I'll wait for that to be confirmed in a second. But just a minute ago, Dane Murray, academy graduate for Celtic, he was up above everyone else. This guy, he's massive, a good 6'2", 6'3", but he was above everyone else, and he managed to head home. This though should go down as an own goal. Just waiting for the tannoy. You know, cutting edge reporting tonight, Darren, when you're on. But Celtic are now cruising 4-0.
Cruising. Thank you, Gavin. That's Gavin Wallace. Let's update the Rugby League. Matt Newsom.
Yeah, Wigan 0, Hull KR 8. The league leaders at the moment going great guns. They scored through Dean Hadley in the first half. They added to that with a Reece Martin goal. The first all-in took 39 minutes. Let's hope we get a few more in the second half to make it plenty lively. It's Wigan 0, Hull KR 8.
And Nikesh Reghane's watching the 100 tonight.
Yeah, with the Northern Superchargers men are about to wrap up victory here against the Birmingham Phoenix. Victory will take them to the top of the men's table. They were chasing 194 Phoenix, and their innings petering out now. 7 balls remain, 44 runs required, just the 2 wickets in hand.
Liverpool close to a third. Alexis McAllister's just had a shot tipped over the crossbar by the Bournemouth goalkeeper. Steve Bunce is going to join us imminently from Saudi Arabia, which is quite appropriate, Don. You like your snooker.
Love it. Go on.
So Ronnie O'Sullivan's played Chris Wakelin tonight in the semi-final of the Saudi Arabian Masters. Yeah. And he's had 2 147s in the same game.
Oh my days. Wow. I think he plays Robertson in the final if he wins, doesn't he?
6-3. Well, he's won 6-3, but he's had 2 147s.
Wow. Incredible.
That must be the first time that's ever happened. 2 in the same game.
I mean, I heard him talk the other day saying he was struggling, he had no confidence, he barely got through a game. But he's a genius, isn't he? I mean, like, what you can't take away from Ronnie, even though he might be out of form or his game's not where he wants it to be, 2 147s, the same game. Genius.
So Ronnie O'Sullivan against Neil Robertson in the final. The Rockets had 2 147s tonight, so it looks like everything in the garden is rosy with him. Now then, tomorrow night, Moses Itauma is bidding to move one step closer to a world title challenge as he faces the former contender and title challenger, Dillian White. 5 Live Boxing, Steve Bunce has been speaking to Itauma, but first we'll hear from Dillian White.
I know what's up playing here. I know what's going on. All this playing games, calling me baby snatcher, messing me about with the times and all this stuff. It's just part and parcel. I know what's at stake here. I know what they bring me here for. I know what they expect and what they think. But I think I surprised a few people already. So let's see what happens inside there.
What does he bring to the table?
Everything. They say he's a god. He's Mike Tyson reborn. He's like Mike Tyson come out with Muhammad Ali. That's what the media and everyone's saying, that he's this monster. He's they said that he's the best prospect in Mike Tyson. So yeah, that's it.
I haven't been a fan of his, but I've respected him. Same like, obviously you saw me just shake everybody's hand.
Yeah, you shook every single person's hand.
The reason why I do that is because this is a tough, lonely sport. It's like being in the middle, being in the middle of ocean, and you're just looking around, and no one can help you. And that's why, if you was to be able to put yourself in that position, because I've got a lot of respect for you.
Dillian's shape, I don't want to make too much of it, but it seems clear to me, and I've been around Dillian 15 years, that he's in, if not the best shape of his life, best shape for a long, long time.
So if he's in the best shape of his life for a long, long time, that means it should be an interesting fight.
Absolutely, it will be an interesting fight. Steve Bunce is going to be ringside tomorrow. Buncey, welcome to the programme. What is it, 12:15 in the morning over there?
It's some mere mild afternoon for us, Fletch. Don't worry about that, my friend.
Are you behind, are you?
Well, I'm behind as a person, yeah, but we're... Yeah. we're actually 2 hours in front of you. But as a
2 hours,
person,
11:15.
it's been said before that I'm behind. Yeah. And for a start, before we continue, am I talking to you? Or it seems like it was Clinton's show. Before the news, it was Clinton this, Clinton that. Clinton, if you want to take over, son, just tell Fletcher to have a cigar, put his feet up.
Bunsey, Fletcher's the main man round here. It's his show. I'm just one of the backup dancers to him.
Bunsey, let me tell you this, you've caught him halfway through a sandwich as well. That was the perfect timing. Clinton's halfway through his tin, just while you were speaking. You know what, I agree with everything that Dillian White has just said, because I think this fella might just be the best prospect since Mike Tyson, and everything that is getting said about him, I can understand it would wind someone like Dillian White up. But the facts are, this is fascinating, because tomorrow I think we get the clearest indicator in Moses Atama's career so far of just how good he can potentially be.
Absolutely. The best person Atama's fought was a guy, his last time out, a guy called Mike Balogun. And Mike Balogun was a former NFL player. Not a great one, but he played professional American football. He then switched to boxing. So that means he came to boxing late. He was a bit stiff, he was a bit mechanical, and he did a good job on him, Atama. But in the global rankings, which I work off, Balogun's currently rated at 108. So the best heavyweight that Moses Atama has beaten is ranked at 108. Dillian White's been in with 14 or 15 top-ranked guys, 4 or 5 world champions. Okay, sure, he's 37. 37 in modern terms, Fletcher's not that old. It's a massive test for Moses Atama. Despite what everyone keeps telling me, it'll be 1 round, it'll be 2 rounds. Fletcher, it's a test, it's a hard fight.
Yeah, so what do we need to see from Moses Atama tomorrow? Because this is the Moses Atama show. This is not a great deal to do with Dillian White unless he wins. But for people who haven't maybe followed his career as closely as you have, what can they expect to hear tomorrow when they tune in on 5 Live and listen to this fight? And what does Moses Atama need to do to show everybody tomorrow that he's ready to take serious steps up the division?
Well, he's 20 years of age, he's had 12 fights, 7 of those fights have finished in the first round, 3 have finished in the second round. What we need to see from Moses is that he can still stay composed after 3 rounds if the man's not fallen over. We need to see that he can take a shot. We need to see some heart and desire if we go into what we call the trenches. We need to see him stay as calm as he's been all week when he's put under pressure. Dillian White, he knows some of the tricky stuff in boxing. He loves his elbows, he loves his shoulder, he loves his head. All of those are going to come into play tomorrow, plus the fact he can hit you on the chin and knock you out. Equally, he could get hit on the chin and get knocked out, and Moses, I think, fancies that. They both come in considerably lighter than the last fights. Dillian 16.5 pounds lighter than he was last time out, and Moses Atama 19 pounds lighter. I think that shows us that these two, they may have been talking about going at each other like Bull and Matador. No, I think there'll be a bit of boxing, bit of brain, bit of sense, bit of skill involved.
Decent night as well. Nick Ball, chief support. He's defending his title too.
5th world title fight in 17 months. No one's done that at the moment. Nick Ball, one of our favourite fighters, and he couldn't meet a nicer man. He's got a hard task tomorrow. He's got an Australian called Sam Goodman who likes to box and move. Nick Ball could. I think he'll win, but I think it'll be entertaining.
I think I'm right in saying 7:30 on 5 Sports Extra, Steve. Is that right?
Yes, and then yeah, that's the undercard. Starts at 7:30 on 5 Sports Extra, and then from 10 p.m. on 5 Live, we're going to have some fun. It's your arena, Fletch. You're missed. There's an empty seat. We're putting your name on it for you.
And just one before we go. Is Patrick behaving? I always have to check in, make sure Paddy's behaving.
Paddy English has been wandering around in his shorts and his espadrilles. I think they're called espadrilles all week. He's still got his hair immaculately greased. I do love Paddy.
You see, that shows how they're relaxing the rules over there, because Paddy's clobber wouldn't have been allowed in 5 years ago.
I've smartened him up.
The big changes.
I've smartened him up, Fletch.
Listen, always good to talk to you. Enjoy it tomorrow. I'll be listening. I'm really enthralled by this. I think we're going to see a spectacular performance from young Moses on his way to the very top. All will be revealed though, Steve. 7:30 on Sports Extra and the main fight on 5 Live. Looking forward to it.
Thanks very much, Fletch. Speak to you soon. Brilliant.
See you, mate. That's Steve Bunce, who is going to be ringside tomorrow. I don't think they do it at the Kingdom Arena anymore. They do it at the smaller one next door, but it's going to be a fascinating night. If you've not seen Moses Atama before, make sure you start to follow him, because he's very, very explosive. Gavin, I think they're giving you the kind of night that you deserve on your birthday. Goals all over the place at Celtic.
Well, they had to, because Clinton Morrison's getting all the airtime tonight, so it's a toss-up between BBC Radio Gavin or BBC Radio Clinton. I'm not sure. Falkirk have scored. Sorry, Clinton, that is absolutely no, it is called for. Falkirk have scored. Really great goal, actually. Keelan Adams, edge of the box, smashed it into that top corner. Sinisalo with absolutely no chance. It's given the Falkirk fans a little bit of hope. It's the hope that gets you when you come to Celtic Park, and giving them something to sing about. Celtic 4, Falkirk 1, gents.
Gavin, thank you. Let's get the latest from Anfield. 2-0 to Liverpool the last time we were there. Lee.
Still is, Darren, as we hit the hour mark here at Anfield. Liverpool making a double change. They're going to bring on Endo and Robertson. Frimpong is going to be the first player to make way, and Milos Kerkez is going to be the second. No surprises, certainly with the second. Kerkez going off, Stephen Warnock.
No, not at all. I think he's had a tough night. He's also been booked. Semenyo's a powerful player on that right-hand side for Bournemouth, and it's caused him a lot of problems. And a lot of people thought that it'd be the end of Andrew Robertson this year with Milos Kerkez coming in, but I think what we've seen is there's a big pressure to play for Liverpool, and Andrew Robertson dropped back into that left-back position.
Liverpool have looked much more comfortable since getting that second goal. A real opportunity. Darren referenced it early on. McAllister, 25 yards out, pile driver of a shot. Great save by Petrovic to tip it over the crossbar.
Yeah, I think one of the other things we need to sort of talk about is the changes at half-time that Arne Slot's made tactically. He's actually gone to a diamond, so at the bottom of the diamond was McAllister, Szoboszlai to the right-hand side, and then it was Gakpo on the left-hand side, and then Wirtz in the middle, and then it just pushed Mohamed Salah and Ekitike a little bit narrower, so we're starting to see an evolution of Arne Slot's formation and system.
An hour gone, Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you, Lee. The cricket's finished. Ed Seaborn.
Northern Superchargers men have won pretty comfortably in the end by 36 runs. Harry Brookside going to the top of the table, winning 3 out of 4, as the women did earlier. A 36-run win for the home side.
Thank you, Ed. Right, time for predictions. This is time to put your money where your mouth is. We're all going to do it tonight. We're going to go for the champions, second, third and fourth, the 3 teams who are going to get relegated, the Golden Boot, and the Player of the Year. We'll stick a dark horse in as well, the team that could be the surprise package of the season. Don Hutchison, you have randomly been selected to go first. The champions will be?
Champions will be Liverpool.
And in this order, second, third and fourth?
Second will be Arsenal, third Man City, and fourth Chelsea.
The relegated teams?
Burnley, Leeds, Brentford.
The Golden Boot?
Mohamed Salah.
The Player of the Year?
Florian Wirtz.
And your surprise team?
Sunderland to stay up. They're going to break that mould of the 3 teams coming up, 3 teams going down. Sunderland to stay up.
Love it. Glenn Murray, the champions will be?
Liverpool Football Club.
Second, third and fourth?
Second, Chelsea. Third, Manchester City. And fourth, Arsenal.
The relegated teams?
Same 3 that came up.
Oh, the Golden Boot?
Isaac.
Really?
I believe.
Really?
Playing for who? In the under 21s league?
Playing for who?
I'm not sure. Whoever he's playing for is going to score goals.
The Northern under 21s league.
Yeah. Player of the Year, Glenn.
Sir, for that, Don. Player of the Year, I'm going to go Wirtz as well.
Okay, and your surprise team?
Everton.
Top 10 for Everton.
Top 10 pushing for that Europa Conference League for Everton.
Excellent. Clinton, champions?
Liverpool.
Second, third and fourth?
Arsenal, City, Chelsea.
In that order?
Yeah, in that order.
Relegated?
Tough one here. I think Burnley, I think Brentford. I'm not sure about this third one, Sunderland, but I've said Sunderland, but I could throw Wolves and Leeds into that mix, but that was tough. But
there's only 3 can go down.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But don't write out Wolves.
Right, hold that thought. Lee Blakeman a goal.
And it's gone to Bournemouth. Bournemouth are back in it. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1. It was a great run down the left by Brooks. putting across the 6-yard line and sprinting in far side of the penalty area. No one picked him up. Antoine Semenyo, who slotted it through Alisson to bring the visitors Stephen Warnock back into it. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1.
Yeah, Dominic Szoboszlai in the middle of midfield trying a little Cruyff turn, gets broken down, and then they turn over possession, Bournemouth, and Virgil van Dijk is deeper and he plays everyone onside, and that's purely because he's thinking that his team are going to keep the ball as the ball's played into that back post. Semenyo's so powerful, there's running power, getting him beyond Andrew Robertson. Smart finish. Now we've got a game on our hands.
He had the freedom of Anfield as he ran into the penalty area to bring this game back alive. We have got 64 minutes gone. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1.
Thank you, Lee. Where were we, Clinton? We need your golden boot winner.
Yeah, we said the relegation.
Oh, the relegation, yeah.
Yeah, we did that, and then we did. Yeah. What do you want after that? Golden boot, Haaland.
Yeah. Player of the year.
So I did go for Verts, but I don't want to be copying. I did have a backup, so I'll go for my second one, Cole Palmer.
And your surprise team?
Everton, without a shadow of doubt. I know it'll make Don happy, but Everton, I think they'll recruit, they'll buy some more players. I think Grealish is a hell of a signing. I know we'll probably talk about him, but I think Everton got a good chance.
I'm going to go Liverpool champions, second City, third Arsenal, fourth Chelsea.
Yeah, okay.
The relegated teams, Wolves, Leeds and Burnley.
Ooh.
The surprise team, I'm going Sunderland because I think they'll stay up. Golden boot, Haaland. And because City are going to be the ones to push Liverpool, I'm going to go Rodri back in the team and player of the year to be the difference maker for Manchester City.
So therefore, Fletch, Glenn Murray predicted Arsenal 4th. That's going to cost Mikel Arteta his job.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn Murray.
Not if he wins the FA Cup and the League Cup at the same time and the Champions League. I think they keep him there.
Exactly.
I think they keep him in that.
Glenn said he's not going to win a trophy. He's going to win nothing.
Well, do you know what threw me is that my top two were the exact same as Robbie Savage's, and it's put me right off.
Oh wow!
So not only are Arsenal finishing 4th, you said at the top of the show they're not going to win a trophy. It's a disaster.
I don't
Gone then. That could be Glenn's big statement of the year. Arteta gone. Yeah.
Not Everton top 10.
Right. Let's have a conversation about the three teams who have come up then. And Don, I'll start with you because you're like me. We both think that Sunderland are going to survive. So what makes you confident in them?
In the players that they've got, in the players that they've signed. Enzo Lefebvre had a really good season last year. He's staying on. I think Granit Xhaka, now club captain, is going to be a brilliant sign and a real leader. And I spoke to Leroy Rossignol today, a good mate of mine. His son Liam is the manager of Strasbourg, and they've just signed a boy called Habib Diarra. And I asked him what was he like, and he pinged me a little message saying, really aggressive runner, incredible stamina, tries to nick a goal but got a real presence in midfield, club captain last year. He's also a brilliant leader. So you could imagine, Diarra and Xhaka in the middle of midfield for Sunderland, really leading by example. Loads of energy, especially in Diarra. I think they'll stay up. I think they've got enough. I think they've really improved. They've spent a lot of money, and they've also spent a lot of money with a bit of squad depth at the same time.
Yeah, on a similar subject, I was chatting to Steve Cooper, and he was quite confident in Sunderland, and he said when you get promoted, there tends to be a group of players that the newly promoted clubs have to target, and Sunderland have got the vast majority of the ones you'd want. So he was really impressed by the players that they've been able to sign and the aggressive nature that they got about it, done it early, got them in, and he was quite full of praise for what they've done as well. Clinton, you've got Leeds staying up of the newly promoted teams.
That was 50-50, Fletcher. I just think they need to sign more players, though. They definitely need to sign more players. I agree with exactly what Don said. I think Sunderland have done great business. I throw a Dinger in there they signed from, who I think will be brilliant. The only thing I worry about with Sunderland is who's the centre forward who's going to get them the goals. That's all I worry about. But the rest of their squad's good. And the boy that Don's talking about, I think he scored against England. He was very good for them in midfield for Senegal against England. He was very good. So I think Sunderland have done great business. With Leeds, I think it's a hard place to go, Ellen Road. I think it's all about their home form with Leeds, but they do need to sign a few more players. But I just give them a good opportunity, a good chance of staying up.
Glenn, what is it that's funny? It's happening more and more often. You've just gone, look, 3 up, 3 down. Is that just because the gap's now so wide between the Championship and any team that gets in there?
Yeah. I mean, I've given it a little bit more thought than that, Fletcher. 3 up and 3 down.
He's misquoted again.
The guy. I mean, Sunderland were 24 points off the automatic spots last year. They were a real curveball of getting up. They sold one of their best player in Bellingham. Watson, yes, I do think they've recruited well, but I just think, listen, I've made that transition before, and it takes a special group, and I personally think that you need to keep a nucleus because it's that like siege mentality. And you also have to have a fan base and a player understanding of, listen, you won it most games last season, it was a successful season, it was a memorable season, but this year you've got to brace yourself to get beat 3, 4, 5 times on the spin and not let it affect you in a negative way and just look forward to the next match, which is a really difficult thing to do.
Fletch, you know what?
Yeah.
You said Wolves. Why do you think Wolves? Because me and Don, I think, said Brentford, which probably everyone knows the reason for. But why did you say Wolves?
Because I just think they've got to the stage where they lose so much talent season after season that it eventually has to catch up with you. And I'm looking at the ones that leave compared to the ones that come in, and there's just a drain on what they do season on season. I might be being disrespectful to Vitor Pereira, the manager, who did a great job when he went in. But it was a toss-up for me between Brentford and Wolves.
Yeah.
And I just felt that Wolves had probably got more on the pitch. Brentford had got slightly more on the pitch. I'd probably favour the Wolves coach over the Brentford coach based on experience and what we saw last season. But I just felt that there's more talent on the pitch in a Brentford shirt than there is a Wolves shirt, just based on the fact that they buy people to sell them. That's the philosophy.
But if they lose,
at some stage, he's got to catch up with you.
But if they lose Wissa and they've lost in Bournemouth, that's a lot of goals taken out the Brentford side on top of an unknown manager.
It is, Don, but then they're going to sign Ouattara. They've got Ouattara, and they'll go and get somebody else. I mean, don't forget they signed 2 or 3 forward players, a couple of which were injured last season, who I think they feel are going to come in and be impactful for them this season. So we're concerned about Wissa and Bournemouth, but they obviously feel they've got players who can come in and do that job for them.
Yeah, so, Thiago's one of them, isn't he?
Yeah, that's
Let me throw it back. Are we going to go to Anfield now? I'm in full flow here with Brentford. Let's go to Anfield quickly. Lee, come in.
Bournemouth have just gone really close to an equaliser, Darren.
Right.
Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1.
Right.
Ball over the top. Eva Nielsen with a flicked header just went over the crossbar. But Stephen Warnock, the link-up play on this near side that Bournemouth left between Brooks and Tavernier is causing Liverpool all kinds of problems as Ekitike leaves the field for Liverpool.
Yeah, well, Liverpool took off Frimpong and they put Wataru Endo at right back. He's not a right back, and they've just targeted him. He's getting drawn into midfield areas, and now they're making a substitution, Liverpool, and they've actually taken off McAllister. Joe Gomez has come off. Wataru Endo now will push into that midfield position. Joe Gomez will go to right back, and rightly so, because they look so disjointed at the moment, Liverpool, and this was talked about at the Community Shield last week, where Liverpool were very susceptible to counter-attacks. Well, Bournemouth have been brilliant in this second half since they got that goal to get themselves back in the game.
So just to confirm that double Liverpool change, Gomez and Jones coming on for Ekitike and McAllister. We have got just under 20 minutes to go. Bournemouth pushing for an equaliser at Anfield. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1.
Stephen, just on that, I know what you're saying about them being susceptible to the counter-attacks, but this was the substitution at the Community Shield that completely ruined it for them. Ekitike off, and then they never really attacked Liverpool from that point.
Well, they haven't attacked since they conceded the goal. They've really struggled, Fletch, to find any rhythm in the game, but that's credit to Bournemouth. I think what we're finding at the moment is Liverpool are used to flooding that midfield with Trent Alexander-Arnold in there. Yes, they had that vulnerability in a wide area, but at the moment they look quite light in midfield. The biggest concern for me is that just a simple ball over the top. Konate, who we know is sort of susceptible to ball watch at times, he is ball watching. He's just leaving Van Dijk alone on his own, and there's runners from midfield that really shouldn't be happening at this level.
Stephen, thank you. So 2-1 Liverpool. There's 17 and a half minutes to go. Ekitike, who scored tonight's now off, and Liverpool have gone to a similar shape that they were using late on in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace on Sunday.
Quite a negative move, Fletch.
Say again?
It's quite a negative move that from Arne Slot, trying to hang on.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and it didn't work, did it, at the weekend?
No.
It let Crystal Palace have the ball and dominate the game.
Yeah, it's a negative one. It's almost like they've more or less said, all right, we'll sacrifice anything more going forward. If another one comes our way, we'll take it, but we'll set for a 2-1 because Bournemouth are on top this second half.
Yes, absolutely. Mrs F's just brought a lovely cup of tea, and I've seen you lot having tea all night. I've been in the house on my own, So I've not been able to get one because I'm holding the fort, but I've got my first cup of tea tonight, so that's very nice.
I wondered who that was that just popped up, and then I realised I've met Mrs.
my wife,
F, so
Clinton.
I know. Yeah, I know, I've met Mrs. F, relax. But it just popped up on my screen, and I was like, who is that?
Let's just
It's some
clarify
random
that
woman in the
situation.
house, wasn't it? Some random woman in the house.
I've met Mrs. F. No, you know what? I was just looking at the screen and then looked there and thought, oh, so no worries.
He couldn't wait to clarify that situation there, Clinton, could he?
Oh, you're terrible. You're terrible. So let me throw it back to you then, because you fired the Wolves one into me. So why do you, Don and Clinton, think that Brentford are going to go?
Well,
I think.
Go on, Don, you go first.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I think Brentford have took a massive gamble with Keith Andrews. I think it's a job that's come from nowhere, and he's a lucky man to have that job. So that's going to be an unknown. That'll be a test for him. On top of the players that I mentioned, I mean, I know, as you said before, they've got Thiago coming in for his sort of second year, who was, a promising striker, but got injured early on. But Mbeumo gone, and Wissa gone, Norgard gone. I think it might be a little bit too much for Brentford.
Yeah, I think with the players that Don and obviously Wissa not involved in, and Mbeumo, the goals that him and Wissa got for them, and Norgard, who was the captain, done a brilliant job. Also, their biggest blow is losing Thomas Frank. I think he's so good. He's a top manager. Yeah. He's detailed. I know they trust within Brentford, and I get that. And I do know Keith Andrews, and he's a good coach. But this is a big job to give him, like his first big managerial job in the Premier League, a club like Brentford, who have lost so much players. So that's why I've gone for Brentford, Fletch.
Yeah. Have we got any concern about West Ham? Or do we think Graham Potter's going to get it moving this season? I mean, there wasn't an awful lot. There wasn't an awful lot, Glenn, to pin anything on last season that gives you hope they're going to be a great deal better this season. They're not a great summer in terms of bringing players in either, really.
No, it's been a bit of a slow summer. Obviously lost Kudus. That's a big blow, ball carrier like that. I think he's got to start well, in all honesty. It was an underwhelming end to last season, and I felt as though, Don will be able to comment on this better, but from an outside perspective, I felt as though the West Ham fans were quite relaxed about that situation, obviously knowing there was no real jeopardy and everything was going to be fine, but I think it wasn't great, so I feel as though a fast start is needed by West Ham and Graham Potter.
Yeah, I think their angst, Fletch. I think their angst is not at Graham Potter. I think it's at the board. I think West Ham seem to be stuck at the moment where I don't think.
Let's stop that. Straight back to Anfield. Lee Blakeman, they've just got absolutely smashed on the counter, Liverpool.
Bournemouth are level. It's 2-2. They've come from 2 goals down, and Antoine Semenyo's got both. The second has seen him run from inside his own half. He was allowed to go and put in a shot from the edge of the area with so much power. It beat Alisson, and from nowhere, Bournemouth are level. Stephen Warnock, it's 2-2.
Yeah, best player on the pitch by an absolute mile, Semenyo. He's been brilliant all night in front of goal. He's driving with the ball. And it's Liverpool, I just don't understand what they're doing on the break. Joe Gomez, freshly onto the pitch. He makes an overlapping run on Mohamed Salah. Salah loses the ball on the edge of the box, and then Bournemouth break. It's a 4v2 situation. Van Dijk and Konate are both backing off. Neither one of them go towards Semenyo. It's far too easy. He's not got closed down. At one point he's carried the ball for 40-50 yards, and then he just pushes it onto his right foot and then pulls it into the bottom corner. It's a quite brilliant finish from Semenyo.
And when I say, Darren, that he ran from inside his own half, he wasn't just in his own half, Semenyo. He was on the edge of his own D, went straight through the centre circle, ran into the opposition's D, shot, bottom corner. Alisson never moved. Stephen,
is anyone going to change the top one?
We'll see.
It's a good question. That's a good question. Would you change it, Steve? Would you change it?
I'll tell you after the game if they win or lose.
I'll tell you what,
you sit on that fence.
Fletch, the Community Shield and this game tonight is a reason why Ryan Gravenberch was unbelievable for Liverpool last season.
Yes.
He was massively missed.
Also,
yes.
you know what? I'd throw Fletch. Konate's got to go to the ball. This is why Liverpool go and pay the money and go and get Mark Gahey. Go and get Mark Gahey. I don't care. Konate's there. He's defending. He just turned his back. Him and Virgil van Dijk are backing off. Done spot on.
Am I still live? Can you
you're
still
still
hear me?
live.
Yeah, so what I would say, Clinton, I 100% agree with you. There's a lot of people talking, saying, well, Gahey won't play if he goes to Liverpool. He's better than Konate.
100%.
He is
at least
a
you got
better
off the
player.
fence. At least you're off the fence now.
Oh, they'll still win it. Come on.
We left your mic up in the hope that you get off the fence.
They'll still win it.
Oh dear, I'll tell you what, it goes back to that quote that we read out tonight when Arne Slot said, we don't give up chances, we concede goals. And it's happening again tonight. 2 against Palace, 2 tonight. They were 2 up and cruising. It's 2-2 now, and we'll see whether one of these teams can find a winner. It's finished at Celtic Park. Gavin Wallace, the birthday celebrations can begin for you.
Well, really, because I've seen a lot of goals. Celtic aren't my team, neither are Falkirk, but I'll let you know on Sunday if it can be a belated birthday present for me. But I am delighted with some of the quality of goals that we have witnessed tonight. Celtic winning 4-1 in the end, Fletch. I have to give a mention though to Keelan Adams for Falkirk. 67 minutes, took an opportunity at the edge of the box and smashed it into that top corner when really Falkirk didn't look as if they were going to get much, and this is a place where you don't really get many goals. Dyson Maeda opened up on 26 with a diving header. Alistair Johnston opened up really nicely just inside the box to go to the bottom left corner on 53. Dane Murray scored his first ever Celtic goal after just graduating from the youth academy on the hour mark, and Liam Henderson with an own goal. It was a lovely ball whipped in from the left hand side. The defender was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Celtic cruise through to the quarter-finals. The draw tomorrow after Rangers against Alloa tomorrow night. It finishes Celtic 4, Falkirk 1, gents.
Thank you, Gavin. Happy birthday again.
Thank
Enjoy
you
the rest of
very
your night. That's Gavin Wallace, who's been watching Celtic and Falkirk. Quickly back to Lee Blakeman. Half a chance for Liverpool.
Should be ahead. Szoboszlai played in by Jones this time, right side of the area, 16 yards out, on his left foot, took a touch, put in the shot, high and wide, still 2-2.
OK, and back to Matt Newsom at the Rugby League. How's it going? Wigan against Hull KR.
Yeah, this right. Hull KR are going to move 6 points clear at the top. They've had Wigan in a vice-like grasp, forced a ton of errors from them, very uncharacteristic. They're on course to win this one. It's Wigan 0, Hull KR 10. We've got a quarter of an hour to go.
Thank you, Matt. Just on Leeds United, Glenn, they've signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do you like that?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I obviously,
based on the fact he doesn't play very often.
Yeah, this is the problem, keeping fit. But listen, we've seen with the change of club, I think Danny Welbeck's a prime example. Obviously, had his injury problems in the past. Since being at Brighton, he's played more football than he's ever played in his career. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be hoping that the Leeds United physio team can kind of get him on that path, and when he is fit and firing, he's a top striker at this level.
One team that we've all written off are Burnley, and the one thing about Burnley last season, they very rarely conceded a goal. Are we sleeping on a team that's going to go into the Premier League with a manager who's got Premier League experience and a real ability to keep the game tight? I mean, the complete antithesis of what they were like under Vincent Kompany when they were there before. This is a very well organised and well-marshalled defensive team. Are we not taking into account, Dom, the fact that they could grind out results and be difficult to beat?
Maybe, but this is another level, Fletch. You can do that in the Championship. I mean, their numbers and their stats are incredible from last season. The fewest goals conceded last season, English record. 30 clean sheets they had, unbeaten in 33 games, so they broke all the records. But you come up to the Premier League and yeah, it's a good thing to try and rely on clean sheets and being hard to beat, but you're coming up against the best centre forwards, you're coming up against the best defenders. It's a whole new ball game when you step into the Premier League. You can rely on those stats, and I think it's a good thing that Burnley will try and play it their way and Scotty Parker will try and do it his way. But do I think they've got enough at the top end of the pitch to get wins? I don't think so.
Interesting. So that's what we think about the teams that might be around the relegation issue and might struggle. I'm fascinated to see what you think about Tottenham based on what we all saw on Wednesday in the Super Cup, where I'm not necessarily sure the best team won the Super Cup, and I'm describing the European champions as not the best team on the night, but I thought for 85 minutes until Lee scored, Spurs couldn't really have done any better. Well organised, Clinton, very, very practical, three at the back, the midfield players played well, Richarlison held the ball up superbly, scored a couple of set-piece goals, but they were full value for the lead they got. They just couldn't see it through. How impressed were you by what you saw the Thomas Frank version of Tottenham in the first really big, meaningful game of his managerial reign?
Yeah, I was impressed, but that don't surprise you with Thomas Frank. I said he's a very good manager. It might be different to how the Tottenham fans want, because they were a threat from set pieces. Danzo had the long throw, and you've seen that many times at Brentford. So he will use that to his advantage. He played the three at the back. I think that was to accommodate. I don't think he's played a lot of that in pre-season to accommodate PSG's threat. PSG have obviously weren't the PSG that we've seen, but I think they've only been back at training in 10 days. So they've been obviously at the Club World Cup before that. So, but it was, I thought Tottenham were good. I still think they need to add players though. If you look at it, Fletch, going forward, I think can they go and create more chances and score more goals? They're going to, obviously, Son's left, Maddison's out for a long time, and you've got Kulusevski that's going to be out till December. So they need players that come in. They've obviously linked to Eze and Savinho. If they can get them in, then I think Tottenham could have a good season.
Before we hear from Don and Glenn on the new look Spurs under Thomas Frank, let's hear from the new manager and his thoughts on his current crop of players.
First and foremost, in many ways, I'm very happy with the squad. I think there's a lot of good players. I think we saw a team that was very, very, very competitive, and on any other day we would have beaten the best team in Europe. Of course, we want as strong and competitive squad as possible. I know that Daniel, Johan and Vina are working night and day, and they have, by the way, been working night and day the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, and they definitely would like to do deals early. Sometimes I think we need to understand it's not that easy.
What's the latest with Yves Bissouma? He posted a picture of an empty training ground in the gym on the day of the final. Is there a way back for him?
Oh, Bissouma, there was a situation. I addressed this. I just have certain standards and demands. Players need a lot of love. There need to be a lot of demands. There also need to be consequence if the demands are not reached. And in this case, there was a consequence. Bissouma will be in the squad tomorrow, move forward, and we have a big game tomorrow.
Laid down the law early, didn't he? Bissouma late, didn't travel with the squad, wasn't involved for the Super Cup, but he's back in tomorrow. The challenge, I suppose, Don, is that it's okay playing that way against Paris Saint-Germain, but he can't exactly go out and play like that against Burnley at home. So is this going to be a bit of a movable feast in terms of the tactical setup for Tottenham from game to game, depending on how good the opposition is?
Yeah, well, I think Tottenham fans had that season last year under Postecoglou where it was crazy, and they liked it for a period of time, but they realised in the end it wasn't sustainable. So they've got the perfect manager in. I agree with Clinton. I've been shouting Thomas Frank's name for big jobs like Man United for the last couple of years. I think he's superb, and what I saw against PSG was a man that's not stubborn. He won't put his flag in the sand and say this is the system we're playing. He'll change it. He'll play 4 at the back like he did at Brentford. He'll play 3 at the back like PSG. He'll recognise the dangers of the opposition. He puts Pedro Porro as a wing back. He puts Jed Spence as a wing back. Suits those two. So I think Tottenham fans will not care. I mean, I know they've got an eye for playing attractive football. I get it. I understand it. But they won't care if they're beating teams 1-0, 2-0 every single week. And I think it's a superb appointment. On top of Champions League football, which is going to be the test. So Tottenham fans, can enjoy Champions League football. Will that come at a cost for finishing the top 4, top 5 or 6? I think it might. Reminds me of the time that Newcastle got in the Champions League a couple of years back, and it hindered Newcastle in terms of where they finished in the Premier League. But I think it's a superb appointment.
I thought the interesting thing on Wednesday, Glenn, was the performances he got from players who maybe gave more than we've become used to seeing, and how they embraced that decision to be defensive and compact on the night. I thought Romero was fantastic. I thought Pape Sarr in the midfield looked like the best player on the pitch for about half an hour. Bentancur was everywhere. Richarlison stepped up and played with his back to the goal and backing into opposition and winning headers. Kudus was dropping into the pocket. I thought as a group, the two wing backs, Spence on one side and Porro on the other side, were dominating the PSG wide players. They really embraced what the Tottenham manager had asked them to do. They were all in, weren't they, on the night against a really good team.
Yeah, and obviously when you come up against PSG, you need to be all in. Just seemed more organised, and he's almost the exact opposite to Ange Postecoglou, because he's so tactically flexible, isn't he? And like the lads have said, he's happy to go to a 3 or a 4, whatever it takes. I mean, I think the biggest worry is, for me, he's obviously gone forward, even though I think Kudus can play in the 10, and also I think that Brennan Johnson could be made into a 9.
Oh, Glenn, I've got to interrupt you quickly to Anfield, Lee Blakeman.
Oh, the clock's gone crazy! Chiesa may well have just won it for Liverpool. It's Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 2. Ball into the area from the right. It dropped for Chiesa. Eventually, after Bournemouth had a couple of chances to get it away, Chiesa made no mistake, blasted it past Petrovic, and the noise in here is incredible. Liverpool back in front. Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 2.
Oh, the roof's just nearly come off this place. Absolutely incredible noise inside Anfield. Brilliant from Szoboszlai down the right-hand side. A drilled diagonal ball into him, and he just croifs it into the path of Mohamed Salah. And then it's like a cross shot from Salah. It's such a teasing ball into the middle. Bournemouth think they've defended it well, but as it drops to Chiesa, he just cuts across it with his right foot past Petrovic. Petrovic doesn't see it. I think Liverpool will finish top this season, Fletch.
I was just about to ask you. You beat me to it. By the way, Stephen, that's some finish from Chiesa.
Oh, it is. It's unbelievable. And do you know what? He's deserved it since he's come on. He's thrown himself into it. He's adored here at Liverpool. I think everyone knows the talent that he's got, and he's just showed it there in abundance. Quality.
Fellas, thank you. So 3-2 for Liverpool in the last minute of the 90. And what a player he was, Don, before he got the bad knee injury, Chiesa, and he's still trying to get back to where he once was. But he looked like he could play for any team in Europe at one stage before the injury. It'd be great to get him back to something like his best, wouldn't it? Because he's such a good player.
Fletch, he just brings... He's got this personality and this character where when he plays and when he runs hard, the whole stadium and his teammates feed off him because his energy is sort of priceless, and that was him at his best. I mean, that's a great finish. I'm seeing a replay, the slow motion finish, but he's energetic. It's contagious. It rubs off on the fans, it rubs off on the players. And I tell you what, if Arne Slot can get a good pre-season out of him and give him some minutes, he's a player that I think needs trusting. I think what he is you're looking at Liverpool's best 11 and you probably think, well, Chiesa probably doesn't get in the best 11. He's one where you've got to try and give him a little bit of time if you can and let him try and earn the right. Don't just say because on paper he's not in the 11. He might have come up with a massive goal tonight that changes the whole dynamics of the season.
It's what champions do, and they were good at doing it last season. They were finding goals when they needed them, and Chiesa's found one for them tonight. Matt Newsom's seen a try in the Rugby League.
Yeah, Wigan have got themselves right back into this with 5 to go. Adam Kieran put up a spiral bomb. The Hull KR's Joe Burgess completely flat tapped from the scrum. Kieran went over to score, kicked his own goal. It's 10 points to 6 with 5 to go.
Fantastic. So closing stages at Anfield. We'll get back there if there are any more goals. We'll certainly be back there for full time. Liverpool 3-2 up, having been 2-0 up, pegged back to 2-2, and now Chiesa's got them back in front again. I want to mention Jack Grealish because I think he's one of the most fascinating transfers of the summer. He's gone to Everton from Manchester City. What are you expecting from him, Clinton? Can he get himself back in the England team?
Yeah, he can. If Jack Grealish produces the form that we all know, he could be in that England squad come the summer for sure. I think he's a talented individual. I don't know where he's going to play for Everton. Will he play on that left-hand side or will he play in the 10 role? But I just feel like with Jack likes to be that maverick that wants to go and get the ball and make things happen. So David Moyes could play him in that number 10, but I think he's a great signing for Everton. I think he's got so much ability, fantastic footballer. People say it hasn't worked out. Remember when Man City were at their best and won everything, Jack Grealish was playing on the left and he was so important to Pep Guardiola. Yeah, he's had a few injuries and they brought in the players like Doku and he's kind of dropped down the pecking order. But I think this move is good for both parties. It's brilliant for Everton and it's brilliant for Jack Grealish. I think he's got the potential to get into that England World Cup squad.
Don, it's the kind of move you've got to make if you're Everton. Going into a new stadium, they needed some kind of stardust being sprinkled in there. So Grealish is a good one to do it. The crowd will love him, won't they?
Oh, they absolutely love him. And he'll love Everton as well. I mean, he'll love playing for Everton Football Club. And I think what Everton are getting, they're getting a £100 million player. Because that player is still inside Jack Grealish. It's not left him. You know, they're getting a £100 million player for half the cost. The rumour is around 50. So they're getting a player that can get the smile back on his face. They can get a player that wants to really play and be the top man, the top dog, and showcase what he's got and play with loads of arrogance and confidence and get his swagger back. I think it's just an absolute perfect fit for both parties.
3 minutes of stoppage time to play at Anfield. 3-2 Liverpool. We're going to do the big five before we finish because we always do that on a Friday, but we've got to get all this wrapped up at Anfield before we even think about getting into that. Quick one on Forest, Glenn. They've taken their time before they start signing players. They found out they're in the Europa League, and now they've got cracking. They've signed 2 good ones today in James McAtee and Amari Hutchinson from Ipswich and Manchester City, respectively. They're also being linked with Rico Lewis. They've signed Dan Ndoye. They quite like Costas Tsimikas. I mean, all of a sudden, there they go again, splashing the cash on a lot of players. But they're signing some good ones, some young ones. You can see the philosophy there now.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is not too many major exits for them. Obviously, Elanga is a big loss, but yeah, massive boost for them getting into the Europa League. What do you think, Fletch? You've got your finger on the pulse more up there.
I felt different.
Gonna win the Europa Cup, yeah?
Well, it might be a Europa League, Premier League double if they play the cards right. Yeah. I just like the idea. Oh, let's get back to Anfield, Lee. Forget what I think.
It's Mo Salah who's got the fourth to wrap it up in from the left on his right foot, past the goalkeeper Petrovic. No chance this time. He always scores on the opening weekend, Mo Salah, and he's got another one tonight in front of the Kop to win the game. Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2.
Oh, what a goal from Mohamed Salah. So often we see him coming off that right flank onto his left foot. This time it's the other side. He chases a long ball down the middle of the pitch. He's just too quick for the Bournemouth backline, and then he backs them off into the penalty area, looks to go on his left, cuts inside on his right, and another pass into that far corner. Quite brilliant finish from Mohamed Salah.
He salutes the Kop. We've seen some calm, cool finishing here at Anfield tonight, and you'd expect nothing less from that man. Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2 with just seconds to go of stoppage time.
What do you think, Stephen? Liverpool to win the league by 10 points now?
It's just gone up, hasn't it? Yeah. Listen, I'll let you guys discuss that. I wasn't involved in that chat.
Stephen, the goal difference is strong.
I tell you what, though, in all seriousness, it's been some response, hasn't it? To get pegged back to 2-2, they're under pressure. But they've responded well and got 2 really well-taken goals to get the win tonight.
Yeah, someone said they went negative. I don't know who that was, Fletch.
It feels like a big night. They're on the move again here.
Yeah, no, do you know what? Since Chiesa scored, they've upped the tempo, but he's had a massive difference in that Chiesa with his pressing. And Don spoke about it before. He's infectious. When he presses, everyone follows, and it's been a better balance since he's come on the pitch.
Stephen, has it had a positive? I talked about Liverpool going negative just because it was at the state of the game, but Joe Gomez going at right back, has that settled everyone down in midfield?
A little bit, it has, yeah. I think there's been a better balance in there, but you're right though, they risk Gravenberch. That athleticism in midfield to cover the ground, to sense danger. But Endo has been better in that position as well, but there goes the full-time whistle.
There is the final whistle, Darren. It's ended. Liverpool